Why we're here,
Thing.
man. Here we are.
I don't even know how the live stuff will sound. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited to be here tonight with Daniel, and
Me too, man.
let's see. We can go back and forth.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna try to pull in some music here. You
Sweet.
know, it's such an awesome time to be alive with music and everything. It's great to have you on, to talk about it. And
Yeah, man.
it's been a crazy year.
Oh,
What's the vibe for you at the end of the year with music?
yeah,
How do
man.
you feel?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've spent more time this year. Again, in previous years, I almost always spent a huge amount of time listening to music, either actively or passively. And I feel like that this year I didn't do as much listening, and I feel that my I guess my mental balance has kind of suffered because of that.
You had your headphones on as much. We were all
Right,
living the
but
same pandy lifestyle inside, but yet receiving wise, you don't think you listen to as much. Let it wash it over you as much.
right, yeah, no, I think I spent more time listening to, like, say, a podcast or a live stream more often than not that was just actual music,
Hmm.
and I don't know, I think that there's been, like, days, like, for example, like, when nobody's streaming, for example, right? You
Sure.
know, and I'll just, I'll be cleaning the kitchen or cleaning the apartment, whatever the case is, and I'll pop on, I'll just put on shuffle, and it'll be, like, 100%, like, random, jumping from, from anime to alternative to like classical to like ska to like J-pop. Again, it didn't really matter, but there is something like very visceral for people. I think when they're listening to music, different types of music, in that regard. And I think that there's a lot of an emotional connection that I missed by not listening to more music. Like consecutively. And again, you listen to one song, two songs is one thing, but when you listen to like either 30, 60, 90 minutes worth of music, it's a totally different emotional mindset in my mind.
Sure. You're going maybe to your imagination deeper, literally, than maybe a shorter period of time.
Yeah.
So, but do you feel like, again, you weren't as curious because you were
Yeah.
getting into an hour of a podcast and you could just kind of focus on listening to that. You're saying, oh, doing the vacuuming and doing this trip to the store, you just got out of practice at being curious about what was in
Right.
live music right now and stuff.
Yes, exactly. And
How'd that
and
make
and,
you
and
feel?
like I said, I think I felt like even during like the height of the pandemic, even right, mind you, right? I think I was still listening to, I'll put on, a specific album that I love, or I'll, throw on a specific, playlist and your music, streaming service of choice, and it was like way different, or whatever, or more recently, I was going to concerts, for example, and I've gone to a handful this past year. So last one I went to was Smashing Pumpkins at the Garden.
Yes, yes.
So so
With
obviously
who opening? Tell everybody.
yeah, so that was it was yeah, so Jane's Addiction was the opener. So that was a really kind of a great like, kind of throwback for me. Um, so I mean, and then they also had another it had an opener actually for um Jane's Addiction as well. It was a YouTuber. I can't remember her name right now. It's escaping me. I should probably look it
A
up and figure it out.
YouTube performer that just happened to be an opener also.
Yeah, they also opened for them, yeah, as well. So it was pretty wild. I can't. It's a one name thing. I should really know this. Um, but yeah, I mean, but it was and she was actually a really remarkable performer, incredible energy. And again, that's the thing is people like say, oh, they're from YouTube. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but YouTube also produced, say, Justin Bieber. If you hate him or like him, whatever the case is. But there are people out there that have presence, that have talent, that have you know energy. And I think that you can say, oh, well, they're not one of your staples as they slowly die off from us, unfortunately. But I think there's a lot of people out there that people need to put more faith in. And I think again, that's for what if I could make a resolution right now we're not quite to New Year's yet, but
No, we're just reflecting on the end of the year, kind of.
right. But I think I think if I what I'm going to do for a resolution for sure
Mm-hmm.
is that I need to listen to a one new artist every week for next year. I think I want to try and fulfill that.
Now, I'm not a promoter, right? Everyone thinks I promote for Josh or I promote for this or I
Hmm.
promote for that. I just, I promote for my higher power. Like I'm just in the moment and I feel what I feel. But if you like live music, like could you
Yeah,
make
man.
that a goal? Or would that challenge you more if you made, I'm going to do something new every week, but this year I'm going to do it live? Like,
Yeah.
do you do those things year to year, first of
I
all?
mean,
And then what do
yeah,
you
man.
think about that now?
I mean, dude, I would love to go see more live music at some point. I mean, um, I think right now it's like I think that both once my younger son just started preschool this year, so I think once he's more like set in that kind of cycle with sleep and school or whatnot, which has been kind of chaotic for us as of
Sleep,
late.
yes.
Yeah,
Trinity might
sleep,
come on here too sometime. That would be cool to talk
sweet
about
man.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, once he's more stable, man, I would love to go see more
Hey,
shows.
Ronnie. Good to see you,
Love to
brother.
hear. Hey,
I'm
hey,
trying to get the chat pulled up here in practice. OG said he's on his way.
sweet,
And
sweet,
I sent a link to Trinity. So
nice man.
we'll see.
Yeah,
Anyway,
man.
continue with the thoughts about
Yeah, man.
the
Yeah, so
goal
yeah,
of new music for the new
yeah, I
year.
mean, yeah, dude. I mean, I would love to. Again, there's so many. Again, everyone has heard of these various venues over here in New York. Here, I mean, Bowery Ballroom is the first one that comes to mind for me
Mm-hmm.
because you get a whole wide degree of different genres, different types of artists out there, and I would love to see more there. Or even going out to Brooklyn, going to Bell House and that kind of thing. And Bell House does not just music, mind you. The Bell House is just comedy. I mean, as well.
Oh,
Paul
wow.
Tompkins was
Mm-hmm.
just out there too. So just like you could do a spread, man, right there if you wanted music or comedy. But
Yeah, we
so,
got
but I
the we
mean,
got
but
the
again,
casinos out here. So actually,
yeah,
Mulvaney,
nice, yeah, of
he's got
course.
something that's coming like right around Christmas here. That would be cool to
Ooh,
see. You got to
nice.
go to the Indian casino or whatever. It's like no
Mm.
gambling. I got to watch out. But no, he's so fresh on the cutting edge.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
How
we
about
we we,
how about
we
new
have a lot.
music or the jazz place, the Lincoln Center? Is that
Right.
too pricey, too far from you guys? You don't tend to go
No,
to that
close,
stuff?
100% close to us. Basically, I mean, I think it's funny because like I'm probably equidistant right now between um the resurrected Birdland
Hmm.
and also Lincoln Center. I'm kind of equidistant between the two of them right now. It's kind of wild. So, but again, they have a lot of interesting acts here and there and everywhere. And I think it's like one of those things. Like I'm like I struggle because it's like because like I don't want to leave my wife at home 100% just in case one of the kids wakes up. And sometimes, so it's like I don't know if I could commit to doing a weekly live event,
Yeah.
but monthly 100%. I could totally do a monthly. I want to go see. For example, there's a local group here that I love called they're a Smiths cover band
Mm.
and they're called Sons and Heirs, and I love seeing them because again, Morrissey tours. He was sick for he had sickness in the band for they took off I think like 7 or 8 shows this past couple weeks right just now. But again, I love the Smiths again in so many different ways, and so like I would totally see Sons and Heirs whenever they were here if I could, you know, just because like again because they do a lot of your typical stuff. They'll do How Soon Is Now, they'll do certain songs basically, but every once in a while they'll throw something a random cut in there, Queen is Dead or whatever album it is, and it's just like okay, it's wild that they're doing this song because
Yeah.
like because I'm not in the 80s, how the hell would I ever hear this song live to begin with?
Right.
So
That is cool. So funny. I'm glad I'm not the controversy channel that wonders. Oh, Morrissey, let's complain about this. Oh, he walked off and that.
oh
So
yeah, Mean
that's
is
just the
Murder,
life.
yeah.
That is just the life.
Yeah,
But no, so I was asking about like live music,
yeah,
because
man.
one of the best things about the pandemic is being able to watch live music on the big
Mm,
screen in your house. We
yeah.
made that a thing. We learned early on as parents, like, oh, this is what we want to do to entertain this week, or we want to do this thing where we have a plan.
Mm,
Um, virtual spring break. To
yeah,
but you had to do that every week. I felt like as parents, you do anyway.
mm,
It's not just the pandemic.
right.
You're making up content. You're a content creator as a parent.
True,
Um,
true.
but we got into the live stuff. So there's a company called Nugs.
Yeah, yeah,
And as big Pearl Jam fans, like we're just into that. You know, we can watch HD stuff. We already get all the HD sound, but it's cool to have the HD streaming.
yeah.
Um, and then it's like being at the it's like being at a showcase in Austin when I used to work. You know, I would drive from
Nice.
Houston to Austin, Texas, and go to South by Southwest and cover
Oh,
that.
yeah, you go.
And so these live streaming places with their menu, it's really nice. It's different. It doesn't activate my television like addiction side of me that
Mm,
wants to not be curious on purpose. Like, oh, my curiosity has got me into trouble where I've spent too much money and I've wasted too much time. I can't do that anymore. I can't feel
right.
that much joy. But you know, with the live music, that keeps it fresh and creative. I don't know how
Yeah.
you think.
No, no. Yeah. I think that I think I haven't watched that much stuff. I know that Terminal Five out here on the East Coast, they're doing a lot of. They lean pretty heavily into the live show kind of model, and I think that I need to get in more on that because again, they have a lot of out of the entire lineup they announced during the last live show I watched via their stream. Like I think I only knew maybe what 20% of the artists that they promoted, and it's like so it's like okay, well I could you buy a season pass if you will, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a fraction of what you would cost to go to three shows basically, right? And so it's like it's just begging the question like again, if you like music, why aren't you doing this again? And I think that I think that I just needed that little kind of mental push to get back into that frame of mind because like again back in the day I was I had a when I had a car still because obviously I'm in New York City, no car anymore. But when had a car, I was listening to Sirius satellite radio, so I'd have Alt
Love
Nation or
it.
Octane or
Mm-hmm.
the insert channel here, and I'd be listening
I
to
know I'll have
music.
you on a show eventually where we just talk about what is the best and argue. You know.
Well, again, and as subjective as it is, I think that there's I think I like to hear what bands people are passionate about. I mean, you're wearing a Pearl Jam shirt. Again, I mean, speaking of some bands that are unbelievably amazing live, I mean, they're probably easily in my top 10. Just from shows that I've seen before. Again, I'm also a Dave Matthews fan. I mean, as much to my co-host of Watch Okay Please's chagrin because he hates Dave Matthews. But but again, there are certain
People love to
bands I
hate,
think,
right?
yeah, they love to hate. But but again, that's why every time I was at a show,
But
I'd go out of my
again,
way to call him and say, "Hey, I would call him right during a specific song, and I would just like play it for him." And it just was just I'm just joshing with him, obviously,
of course.
pun intended. But but it's that's that thing though. But I think that yeah, I mean, I think that I want to, like I said, I mean, either I either I buy a season pass and I go see these smattering of artists from someplace, or I want to at least get a recommendation from someone who's I would say musically inspired like you or anyone else in the community extended disc communities. If people have suggestions, man, I'm all for that because like I feel like that. Well, I'm open. I
Hmm.
feel like I'm still a little bit kind of tunnel vision to an extent because like there are certain genres or people that I gravitate to, regardless if it is Dave or if it's anime music or if it's like Nora Jones or where the case is. So again, I run the gamut here, and but if people want to push stuff to me, man, I'm all for hearing it, man.
Well, it would be awesome to have. I mean, like as we're growing this whole Love Tribe thing, and the whole music discussion thing, and just a place to expand on, just talking whatever we want to with art and different stuff and thoughts.
Yeah.
Um, it would be cool. I like getting together with people in person. I like that real thing.
Oh yeah.
And out here, the Grammy Museum, like the
Oh
Grammy
yeah.
Arts Museum out here has the most amazing things that you and the kids and everyone would love. Imagine the Pac-Man tables that we sit down at a Pizza Hut, and you're sitting down and it's got that nice flat top, but these are more like the
Yeah.
walk-up ones that you do at museums. And I can only describe that as you touch a genre, you might imagine a pool or a drop, like lighting up around your finger, like you're touching water. But more like thinking maps and the way that we connect
Mm.
the spider web or something like
Yeah,
that. But
mind maps. Yeah, I hear that, man.
yeah, mind mapping, and it's genre mapping, but it's a
Yeah, that's
live
more accurate. Yeah.
database that is the Grammy Museum and multiple tables. And so I can go to folk and I can see
Nice.
Dave Matthews and I can see his blues routes, and then I can triangulate where that came from, and I can hear a live track from a radio station in the 30s, and like that person
Yeah.
that was just the person that was just given the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They'll cross reference live video and stuff that's starting to pull things together, and so
Right.
it's a wonderful time to be talking and thinking about that kind of looking at the history of stuff.
Yeah, man.
It's cool that it excites you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, again, and I need to get back out because I haven't been on the West Coast in like, it's got to be 15 years at least, maybe longer than 17 possibly. So I do want to get out there at some point, so it will happen. Once my younger one is like more, I'd say, emotionally stable, we'll have to do it at some point. So we'll plan it out.
It's it's a musical paradise out here just because there's so much. I mean, same with New York.
Right.
It's biased, right? Biased of the local place, and what's the Al Bundy syndrome? Can we call it something like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
remember when I scored that touchdown in high school? And he's
Yep.
reveling in it, but no one else is listening to him, I guess, right? I
Nope.
know no one really listens to me. Like, that's the beauty too,
Well, yeah,
right?
with the exception of a handful of us here, obviously. So we're definitely always listening to you, man.
No, I just meant like in general. When your
In
wife
general.
doesn't listen to you, like that's the sweet spot because then you're just in the relationships.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like when we
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
comfortable place where you know yourself enough, then I'm like, I
Yeah.
know people don't really, pay attention. My ego
Yeah,
thinks
dude.
that I know what I'm talking about, but in
Yeah, dude.
reality, come on.
Yeah, the last time I was West Coast, actually, it wasn't even in Cali. It was in Seattle. So, and I was at EMP way back in the day. And
The
that was when,
museum
yeah,
you're
yeah,
talking about.
man,
Okay, explain the
yeah,
full name to everybody as they're listening here,
yeah,
because I know the whole thing.
the Explore Music Project, and that was like I was there like when they had just like opened within a year after they opened, I think. So again, they have like various different rotating displays and whatnot there, but they have a lot of music paraphernalia. They have they have the hall of guitars, so you see like the origin of everything from classical to steel, modern electric, and the whole nine yards. You can see all these like super amazing looking guitars that cost more than any of us make in a year, probably in some cases. But again, there's so much paraphernalia there. You see stuff from Jimmy, you see stuff from all these different artists across the board, and the Nirvana exhibit they had. That I don't know if
They
it's
had
still
a
there or not,
specialty
but
exhibit while you were there,
yeah, so the Nirvana
like
exhibit
just the
while we were
specialty
there.
wing.
Yep, especially when of all Nirvana related paraphernalia. I mean,
Wow.
again, it's wild. And again, but I feel like again, there's so many of these what we'll call modern influencer bands out there that have this, cachet and thing and paraphernalia behind them that that people I think would have like a tremendous draw to. So, and of course, also EMP also had mini studios, so that you could go into a room
Yes.
and pick up a bass, pick up your drums, pick up your guitar, and just jam if you wanted to.
The
And that was
Grammy
wild.
Museum has that here also, and one specialty exhibit was when the Beatles were here. It was a Beatles photography exhibit, but they had a little
Oh,
sound booth
nice,
thing where you got to sit down and do the drums like Ringo. That was always my favorite. Did you play
nice.
Rock Band? The one
Yeah,
where it came with the drum kit and you were the Beatles?
yeah.
Did you ever
I did
make it
both.
all the way to Tokyo and finish the game?
No, I never finished the game because
Ringo here.
yeah,
I
nice,
mean, oh
dude.
my God, talk about sore. Just that man.
Arm workout, man. That's an arm workout.
That was nuts, dude. I mean, that was. I'm not a gamer, and we spent 6 hours, and we went from the Cavern Club all the way to Tokyo, and I did every song, and I was Ringo the whole time. We didn't switch.
Not wow, man. That's impressive. I mean, because just again, if you're playing, a 2 hour gig, right? Right. You have like short breaks in between songs, maybe a longer break before your encore, whatever cases. But still, when you're playing for that long, I mean, sheesh, that's oof, endurance training right there, man.
Yeah, it was rad. But yeah, so one more thing. Explain, if you can remember, what was it like when you walked into the museum?
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but describe maybe walking in and looking at the museum. If you've seen what my hand gestures are saying,
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that's the only
because
hint.
it's so funny because you walk outside of it and it could like initially like the facade in front of your face is very just kind of plain. It's their building, but then you look up like to the top of the structure, you see it's got this like this way different kind of curved windows dome structure at the top, and that's what's so wild. It's just because again Seattle, it's like you think Space Needle, you think this, you think that, but like but when you walk inside, man, it's like it's not like super bright. It's like kind of got a nice kind of glow kind of ambiance inside, and I that's what I loved about it is that I walked inside and I felt comfortable, and that's what I loved about. If a museum can do that to me, because I'll walk inside, because obviously here in New York we have tons of museums or whatnot, but there's some museums I can walk into and I'm like, you know what, I'm cool. But when I walked to the EMP, man, like I just felt like almost at home.
It makes me go back to our discussion about art galleries. I wonder if there's a certain
Yeah,
tension that you feel in some galleries versus
yeah.
others. You've got a lot of experience. Is it about how tight the bunghole is of the owner? Is it the neighborhood? What is it? What's
Yeah.
the vibe like that?
Yeah, I think it depends upon what's being shown there. Because if, for example, like
Hmm.
if you walk into say, I don't like dropping names here, but say here in the
Please,
city, Marlboro, obviously they deal with super they deal with Picasso, they deal with Matisse, deal with the
Picasso,
higher
Picasso.
yeah. We deal with like these higher tier of paintings that easily go for way more than in other places are. But when you walk into some places, it's like it's if they're a photography studio, a gallery, or if they're a surrealist, or you choose a type of painting here. I think it's a way different kind of mindset, because if you and it also neighborhood is, like you mentioned, is a big deal too. I think because I think Chelsea galleries have a whole other kind of vibe than Lower East Side galleries now, because I feel like the hottest gallery section, again, my wife probably could correct me here if I was wrong, but I mean, OGs were all in Soho, right?
Yes.
And then Soho moved up to Chelsea, Soho from Soho to Chelsea, and now other places are in Lower East Side and Dumbo and Brooklyn. So it's like, yeah, so it depends on where your gallery is at. It's a totally different vibe, for sure.
That happens with the socioeconomic status
Oh yeah,
and how the people move around, like you said, the patrons.
yeah,
Speaking of patrons, sorry. Um, it's a it's an awesome thing. Just thinking about like all the stuff that we can do, especially like I said,
oh yeah,
this love tribe movement that we have with the music and the karaoke is my vibe. We haven't even
hell
gotten
yeah,
into the stuff tonight. I hope to
yeah, man.
sing something with you, but um, I was just thinking of how we plan and we market and we think about how we're going to be doing content and different things like that. And sometimes we plan out into a distance, and then a lot of times as artists we just live in the moment. But
Mhm.
I just thought of, as a family or as a content creator, architecture, music, you know, boom, do that one.
Mm, mm.
I don't know how geeky you are, but like one of the most joyful things in life was going to the AAA and planning your route, like how you were going
Oh
to take
yeah,
your summer vacation and planning out all the stops and the different excursions, before they were excursions, just your mom and
yep,
dad figuring out what the hell pull off to get gas.
yeah,
But that was dope for me. Like I
yeah,
love that type of stuff. So I was just thinking about you guys when Seattle, you never drove down to San Francisco
right,
because
right.
the Science Museum in San Francisco is like
Mm,
it's like a temple. It's like it's
right,
built into a huge architectural wonder, and then you go inside, and it's a well done science center. So it's like
right,
all the beautiful geeky things that I want to bring together, not just the Discord and stuff.
right.
Imagining libraries of interesting things, but that are curated, but trips that we can plan in our imagination, right?
Mm,
Nowadays, we just make it happen. Like everything is Field of Dreams for me. I don't
yeah.
know.
No, I mean, I can't wait to see what, augmented reality and virtual reality can do for us in the future to this extent. Because in having that feeling, like you said, you're walking into San Fran Science Museum. Again, it doesn't matter if it's there, if it's Franklin Institute in Philly, if it's Liberty Science Center outside here in the city in Jersey. Again, no matter where you're going, it's like having that that feeling when you walk in. There's something unmistakable about that. Again, it doesn't matter. I mean, even like I remember walking into, honeymoon. I walked into El Prado in Madrid, right?
Hmm.
And like that's again unreal. Again, I haven't been to the Louvre, mind you, but like walking into El Prado was like very almost like religious for me.
How
You know,
small was the doorway, or how big was the doorway? Or did you have to go in a side tourist thing instead of like the
but
big,
yeah, it was more of it was more of a standard doorway to get in, which is totally random. I thought there'd be like some super grand centers. It was like way
you
more low
never know with
key.
architectural places, you know?
Right, again, old Europe, if you will, basically. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it was wild walking in there. But like, again, but the second I crossed the threshold, it was just like again, even with EMP, it was like again, it was a different kind of experience for me. And same thing when in their other place, and Spain is again, I love Spain so much. As again, if there was a country other than U.S. or hanging with my family in Chile, I would basically be it'd be a toss up between probably Spain and England for me. Um, I've been to Israel, been to other places, but I think that but Spain has just I don't know. There's a certain a cultural thing that goes behind that for me, and especially Barcelona for me is like the great best of both worlds. Madrid is like super old school, but Barcelona
Hmm.
is like this bit of modernity within that classicalism. And that's what I loved about Barcelona a lot.
Okay. I thought you were about to say how you were going to go even deeper. How like wasn't it like Christian and Muslim
Oh,
and
true. Yes.
like I thought you were going to go there for a second,
Yeah. No. I know.
which which was then sending me to like the remember how good Sean Connery was in the last was not Last Crusade. It was the Robin Hood movie with Sean
First
Connery.
night. First night.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
the other Robin Hood the Robin Hood movie with Kevin Costner.
Oh, Prince of Thieves. Yeah. Prince of
Yeah.
Thieves. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why I'm thinking, but I'm thinking of the
Yeah.
Crusades, and I thought of that when you went
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Spain.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, speaking of Spain, like the Alhambra is a great example of that. Again,
Hmm.
you have, you know, I obviously Muslim inspired architecture meeting, this, you know, Christian, kind of mindset of this kind of manner element, and that, to me, it's just so picturesque. I could just sit there hanging out with the feral cats, just hanging out there all the time, in front of a fountain all day, just hanging out, just looking at things happening, reading a book. If you pop in your headphones, listen to music.
Right.
Honestly, it's like it's sometimes Spanish Caravan from the Doors plays in my head, in that regard. So it's just it all depends. So
Cool, man. I um I was also thinking about, I mean, my higher power is putting together like, what's that first song we were going to sing? And so I was
yeah,
thinking about Spain, and then I was thinking
nice.
about our Judeo-Christian background, and I was thinking about Madonna and Kabbalah, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was thinking about music, but then I was like, all right, I got this. What do you know about Kabbalah? Tell me the truth about Madonna. What's really going on in the clubs? And like, what is really going on in the disco clubs? Because I'm a big Studio 54 guy. I don't know about
Yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
but since we're talking
I
about
remember hearing about it.
XM
Yeah,
radio people, besides my Pearl Jam station, all
right.
I listen to is Studio 54 because
Nice.
that's me.
Yeah,
That's just who I am. Yeah.
yeah. Kabbalah is wild, man. Again,
I'm into mysticism too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because it's pretty wild because it's funny because like my wife's family is like super observant,
Hmm.
in that regard. More so my family is what I affectionately call secular humanistic. So like we we put our humanity ahead of our religion in that regard, and that's
Sure.
kind of where I hang my hat a little bit. So it's like I'm a human first,
But when you
and
say
then
observant, you mean observant in terms of a strict consistency, or you mean towards a fundamental thing to have
so
a good consistency?
so traditional observance of the various different parts of Judaism. So my in-laws, they're Shomer Shabbos, so they basically observe the Sabbath. They don't use electronics. They don't do certain things. They don't handle money on the Sabbath, that kind of thing. They have like timers and all their light
Their
switches, so it turns
lifestyle's been
on.
set up.
Yeah. So
Great.
and again, that's
It's a
and they
spiritual
obviously,
choice, man.
that kosher kitchen, separate platewares for for dairy, for meat, for non-dairy, non-meat, and then obviously for Passover, a completely different set of everything else
Right.
because
And these
you
are the
can't use the
in-laws,
same thing
though.
there. My in-laws, yeah,
These are the in-laws. And I mean, obviously, I live my life out loud. We don't have to get into any
oh yeah,
details and stuff. But you go there, I think you
right,
said, for the big stuff. So
yeah,
as we keep going, because everyone wants to really know all these cool details, like how's your
hell yeah,
pantry? Did you guys have to set that up for your house? Do you have a
no,
separate
no,
set? I mean, like, do you set up your lifestyle and your system to be able to accommodate all different families coming in and out? Like, it's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So whenever her family comes into our place,
Mhm.
it's just paper plastic all the way, unfortunately. So I'm sorry, it's
I
very
like Chinette.
anti-environment.
Chinette, right? Hey, it's okay.
Right, yeah. Yeah, but again,
Easy
it's
for
just way
parents.
easier.
Sorry,
It's just way easier.
environment. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, environment, for sure, but again, at the same
As
time,
I'm
it's like,
wearing a kid, this shirt was made by a child earning $4 a day, right? I mean, even though it's like probably my favorite band, right? We all really know what's going
right.
on. Sorry, people, to bust your bubble. Anyway,
Yeah. I need to get more iron-on shirts for myself, yeah, so, yeah. No, but yeah, but again, that's, for us, the only thing we don't really do at this point is we don't bring in pork products into the house. That's pretty much about it. Because like, so for example, she was never into seafood, crustaceans ever. So the most she would do is for example, the first thing she did, it was outside the kosher shield, if you will, um, would probably be she probably had a cheeseburger.
when you guys
And
were dating or like before kids,
oh no, so she had a cheeseburger before I started dating her. So I was like a
I
couple
was
years
thinking
out.
about your lifestyle, and then because I was
Yeah,
already going to ask, oh, how did the kids affect it? Because we know if the kids have certain needs, maybe we
right.
take a more lax
Yeah,
attitude towards how we interact with our traditional
yeah.
communities.
That's the beauty of it, is that my
I have a
in-laws are
lot of
very
interesting
supportive.
questions, people. Come on my show, whatever, just talk to me, DM
Yeah.
me. I don't care. I
Oh
want
yeah,
to
man.
talk to people. I love this. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, man. No, but like, my in-laws are very supportive. So like, we have a kids table area. So basically, if they want to have, if my older son wants to have, say, corned beef, for argument's sake, that's fine. And if my younger son sits, two spots away from them, we'll have a separate piece of tablecloth in that area, and he'll have his little crunchies from Gerber, which obviously are dairy based.
Yeah.
So again, we can do it. It just we find ways to get around the logistics of that
And
part
I'm
of it.
sorry, we have to ask the important questions. You're talking about those delicious little puffs, right? Those little
Yeah,
Gerber puffs. Okay.
yeah, yeah. The Gerber cheese
Hallelujah.
puffs, man. Yeah, he loves all of them. He loves the white cheddar, the
Wait, the
tomato
little white
cheese, all of
cheddar
them.
crunchy puffs? Oh, come on. Stop it.
Yeah, those are
That's
those
too
are
addictive, America.
again. If again, I've been I've been off dairy officially since January.
Mhm.
Just because I was confirmed that I'm 100% can't tolerate it. So yeah, so it's hard for me because like I want to eat that sometimes and I can't. So
Uh, Again, we got nothing but time and nothing but interesting questions. Was that DNA expressing itself, in your opinion, or is that the
mm,
environment changing you because of what you eat? I don't know that stuff.
it's wild because okay, so define irony. I used to work for an affineur, aka an ager of cheese. So like I once upon a time, I would bring home anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 pounds of cheese a week from work.
Right.
And I again, if I didn't feel like having eggs or cereal or something else for breakfast. Oh, I'll have half this hoja santa with some fresh bread. You know, and
Sure. European lifestyle, right?
yeah, or it's like, oh, I still have that quarter left of the Valençay or the Seltzer share, whatever, croton, whatever I had at the moment, or Robiol Latour, whatever the case is. Again, whatever it is, I just would go after that. But now it's like the irony is that I was all about the cheese element. Now it's like, well, I can't have the traditional part of that anymore. It's just because, yeah, and it happened because combination of things. But in essence, basically, I had a bunch of GI issues back, way, starting November of 2021, and then like I eventually got tested and did a whole bunch of procedures related to that and whatnot. And as a result, they're saying, okay, well, all your ACEs, ASES, are fine, except for lactase. My lactase is like
Mm.
60% of the minimum I need to ingest any dairy. So even a lactate pill ain't going to cut it now.
I think nutrition is awesome. I've often thought as a science teacher, like I
Mm.
could plan a whole year of curriculum and instruction based around nutrition for any subject. Like
Mm.
nutrition would just be the whole overarching thing of like the year, and then it's the physics and the English and the science, like just all the different stuff. I don't know.
I'm not going to lie, man. Honestly, with the way some of America eats, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. I mean, again, there's obviously a certain
Oh, I think
issue.
I think people are backwards planning that. I mean, as teachers, right? They call it backwards planning, right? Because you
Mhm.
understand the objective that you want, and you're trying to get the person to get to the objective and comprehend that input, whatever it is. So I think, yeah, people are getting it. Maybe
Yeah,
like Bill Maher has been talking about it for 20 years, and
right.
but
That's a great point.
but wow, now we're going to bring up stuff about comprehension, right? And now this is the stuff that I talk about on Santa's show because
Nice.
it's a comprehension issue. I think the reasons that some people get some art and some people don't get some art. I
Mm.
don't think it's just like their taste. Taste is different. I think taste is a different palette versus like
Mm.
comprehension. Like we all understand comprehension on the same level. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you
Right.
think?
Well, it's yeah. I think that there's like I think I agree with you because I think that you can have a visceral reaction to a piece, right? But
Any
then
art piece, visual
yeah,
or sonic, right?
right, any art piece. But at the same time, but can you appreciate, say, like like a Goya for what it is, or a Dali for what it is, versus like oh I just really like Monet, you know. So again, if that's what speaks to you, more power to you. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, you have to say, okay, artistically, this is that style, this is this technique. Yeah, there is the comprehension. 100%, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, so now it goes to my real hypothesis. I don't know what one of my deep hypothesis of the zeitgeist recently is I'm starting to realize that the things that we never talked about as a society 20, 30 years ago, those wounds that we never healed, little
Mm.
tiny things come back to haunt us. One, I will contend, is it was good are the parental labels on CDs, right? I want to talk about that because this is the music discussion type of
Paging
vibe that I
Tipper
have.
Gore.
Right. But because we never talked about the fundamentalist Christian thing and what was really behind it, right? Leads us to
Right.
the same bullshit right now where we're getting all these, anti Semitic crazy stuff
Mm.
that comes to the surface. Like, I truly believe it's that. Now, obviously, I can go backwards and I can find that wormhole, and I think that's why it's happened. And someone else will tell me, no, you're putting it all together because you're biased. But not talking about stuff like that, not talking about certain other things, we don't actually do the healing. And the people that I'm around, because it's so desperate, like
Mm.
when people are on the street and they have mental illness and they need help because it helps us all to help each other,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
cost savings in little communities for health insurance and all these other tiny little practical reasons that we shouldn't have to fight about. But anyway, when we don't talk about certain things, it doesn't heal. Like I think that's
Mm.
bad in art and different
Yeah.
things. And so in art, Remember when the poop was on the thing in the Cincinnati
Right.
museum? You know, I'm
Yep.
from Louisville, Kentucky, so Cincinnati was right there, and I'm a big art.
Right.
You know, Louisville is like the art galleries and the spot
Hmm.
for theater and Muhammad Ali and like just like
Yeah.
boom, just like everything in nature. When things come together and there's pressure, then evolution like pushes and it excels, and then big things come out of it. So you see how my mind goes to all these different places. But the
Yeah.
point
But
is that when we don't talk about certain things, the pressure doesn't get released. And it's
mhm.
interesting in art, how you were talking about how we perceive art, for example. We never talked about with the record label thing is my one theory, and I take it back to Warhol,
Mm,
pop art.
mm.
Like we
Yep.
never really got over pop art, and then it got taken up by the corporations. Or is Madonna not pop art? Was she really, is Gaga not pop art? But
Mm,
she is pop
yep.
art, and she embraces it. And what she does, because she lives her truth, Madonna was too. But then she's also corporate, and it's confusing. But what do you think about not talking about certain issues and it festering in society?
No, I'm with you there, man. Because I think that Americans, like, even though we're not universally Puritan as a religion now, um, I think there's this puritanical like kind of mindset that is kind of stuck with us ever since the colonial period, where we can't talk about certain things, like you're saying.
Yeah,
We don't want to confront things, and I think that's still there, regardless if we want to admit it or not. But there is a stigma about that kind of thing. Again, whether or not it's it's you put on a ton of family values, or it's not appropriate, or whatever the case is. Again, I think that there are still venues, and there are ways to engage that without basically quote unquote scarring younger people or affecting other relationships out there. You can have a conversation without basically breaking society, I think.
yeah. I mean, it's going to evolve the way it's going to evolve anyway. Kind
Mm,
of. Maybe
yeah.
so. Um, yeah. So some of these things then don't get talked about on a big societal level, and then
Mm,
it doesn't get talked about on a family level,
yes. Hmm.
and then no fault of their own, we as society start learning certain behaviors, and then we start doing certain things, and then which came first, the chicken or the egg? And that will always get me back to the same argument about, I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember knowing what journalism was, because I wasn't working as a real writer for my eighth grade, school newspaper, where I was very privileged to be, at a Catholic school in Louisville, Kentucky,
Mm,
and
mm,
have a minute extracurricular thing that they kept us with busy work, but they told us it was the school newspaper, whatever it was.
right.
I was just doing like political cartooning, or just cartooning in my
Nice.
art. Ended up being
Nice.
like a rip off of some Snoopy cartoon. It was not
Yeah.
creative at all, but it was me trying to express myself through like political thinking and different stuff, whatever that meant in my little eighth grade brain. And now I don't know what the point was, where I was going with the story. Um, Man, that's going to happen a lot, people, with my tangential thinking. Um,
Yeah.
Something about the journalism. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
There you go.
It was that period where I remember, probably from some big TV marketing thing, the Today Show. I remember when journalism changed at USA Today, and they started
Mm,
dumbing it down. And
yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I'm grateful for my higher power challenging me. And sometimes I know my spirituality was there, and sometimes I didn't. But like, there was some fire in me that knew, man, this is not good. It felt unjust. Like, I didn't know what social justice was, even though I was a really
Right.
good Catholic. Like, not a really good Catholic. Like, I am a very sinful choir boy, or I'm like I'm like the bad choir boy, or I don't know, like the right way to say it, but I'm that juxtaposition.
Right.
But I felt it was just wrong.
Right.
Maybe it was the bias of the nice progressive people that ran the Today Show that in New York City that were saying, "Hey, watch out, they're dumbing down your
Hmm.
stuff." Because you and okay, again, I'm so grateful you came on tonight because
Yeah,
this
man.
is like our fire. And
Yeah.
Moss, our friend Sam,
Hmm.
she holds space for these discussions when she has her book club where we can
Yeah.
talk about the things that people don't want to talk about. And 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 I think somewhere in my deep down psychological social justice thing that is part of my faith and my tradition was like, man, they're dumbing this down for people. They're not going to be, they're going to start burning books, and the way that
Mm.
the way that people manipulate stuff behind the scenes. Maybe not because they're evil. Maybe because there's a gravitational pull to the system and
Hmm.
money and power, and who knows what it is. But
Yeah.
we know it's evil. But
Right.
especially all this anti-Semitic stuff and
Yeah.
the book stuff and the control. I don't know. What else do you
Right.
think about that?
Yeah.
What do you think about not talking about how shifts change in society with art, maybe, or how shifts change with communities controlling the art with the labels later in the 80s versus the
Mm.
Warhol thing, and then maybe speak to those two things as compared to the shift when maybe USA Today changed and started dumbing down journalism. That's a lot. But
It's a
people,
lot.
this is what this is what I am. This is what I want. I mean, I want the
Yeah.
Discord. I want the Discord to be like you walked into the library and it's Dewey Decimal System and
Nice.
anything A to Z that you want and think about, it could be there. Like I love the way I see Baymax curating Santa's Discord with
Mm.
comics and images and things that are, the Star Wars universe exploding into the fourth dimension. And
Mm.
then we know other people that do that in their, marketing space for their art, or, you know, in your imagination space where you are thinking about your future business or whatever. That's
Yeah.
what I want this thing to be. I want it to be these awesome discussions. Try to
Yeah.
speak to that for a little bit while I quiet
Yeah, man.
myself.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I think that societally, I think that each generation, even sooner than that, I mean, even half generations, quarter generations, right now, I think that what we perceive as okay to talk about or acceptable to talk about is ever changing. And I think we're chipping away at this puritanical ideal of what is or is not coming through here. And we're chipping away at that. And I think that, the once we break this, again, I'm not gonna openly talk about, certain things. Just throw this out there. For example,
Mm.
someone asked in the Diamond Lounge over in the Avengers Discord about grooming products. So
Yes.
like 15 years ago, people would ostracize you for asking a question like that. Probably. Again, it's super
Yeah,
inane,
for
right?
sure.
So it's just
You might have to buy your ball trimmer at the bondage store in West Hollywood, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
now it's at
100%.
Bed Bath and Beyond. You're saying, but so is the
Right.
ball gag, right? I bet the ball gag is at Bed Bath and Beyond too. But anyway,
That's
that's
another
another
story.
show.
Or as my I mean, it's probably not very cool to say, but my friend used to
There's
call it
nothing on. We're just real here.
well,
My
I
kids are
know.
going to understand who I am eventually, so they know
So I mean, my friend would call it Bed Bath and Be Blown. So it's so
what's
go
happening in
figure.
the back room. I can't wait till Meg comes on. I don't know what time. Well, sometime she'll be on.
Yeah,
It'll be super
amazing.
raunchy. People, be prepared. It's a
Be ready
mystery.
for that.
Keep coming back and keep asking questions about how it all happens, and you'll find out.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
But I
anyway, yeah.
think it's so funny how like just generation speaking, we graduate rather, I should say, to be able to handle different topics, and I think that I think finally, mental health, for example, is definitely more top of mind. Um, I just watched the Hacksmith. I don't know if you follow them out there and out of Canada,
Mm-hmm.
but James, he's the creator head of Hacksmith. He's stepping away because he needs time to reset himself, mentally speaking. And I think that's tremendously amazing that for a brand that has built themselves so much around YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
that he's able to come forth and be as honest about that as he can. Because again, most business owners aren't that honest or willing to talk about this kind of thing.
Right. You
Like,
don't want to. You don't want to have to say I have to work 50 hours a week for my health, and then talk about the fact that the money's not on the books, and
right,
like you don't want to have to come back to your wife and be like, "Wait, I can't." You're saying I have to keep working 60 hours a week because of this lifestyle. Anyway,
right. I mean, we're not psychoanalyzing Bob Chapek right now, for example.
no.
Just as I mean, again, it's a different mindset when you're looking at different types of businesses in that regard. And I think that, but again, for me, I love that we're slowly getting to a point basically where we can start having frank discussions about this. But at the same time, again, there is there are a lot of people out there, like you said, that have either a comprehension issue, like you were saying
Hmm.
before, about understanding what an issue is or what it isn't. And then I think that it's about being able to have an honest conversation, but at the same time not a heated conversation where basically you're just feeding something you heard from your uncle, or whatever the
Right.
case is, just because you think you believe in that, whether or not you've actually thought about it or not. And again, the more people that are doing more higher levels of independent thinking
Hmm.
and having these honest conversations, like we normally have, I think this is way more healthy. And we're going to get to a point basically where we're not bottling it up, and we're not going to have to deal with the fallout from that.
And do you believe not in the future or the past, but like there's another podcast that's happening right now where they figured out this stuff and they're already like 5 years ahead of us, right? Like they're the
Oh
people
yeah,
that are working for the CIA, and
probably.
like those people. I'm saying I don't know. I just that's how I think. Um,
Yeah.
well, I wonder. So that gets me to like semantics and like
Mm.
collective learning and stuff, because then that's really scary because you wonder, uh, is the zeitgeist and the words of the people leading stuff, or are we being led because of especially the differentiation of what would you even call it nowadays? I mean,
Mm. Yeah.
seriously, the fact that people can live in their bubble versus, you know, MSNBC versus Fox, like they're literally using different languages. And if I was in a community and I was speaking with, I mean, that happens out here in New York. It happens in New York, happens in LA, right? You've got
Sure.
you've got two very distinct language communities right up next to each other at the public school, and it's your justice to bring them the best access possible. So
Mm.
you're
Mm.
learning these techniques and
Right.
and different things. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting how I mean, it could be changing because of the generation too. So that's
Mm.
another thing that we can speculate on. Every generation gets smarter, just like every uh, chip in your now it's the Intel 8 times. So now it's the Intel 42 times, whatever. Like
This
that's
core,
how
that
we're
core.
made.
Yeah.
Our kids are made to be, faster, stronger, better to take care of us. That's just, evolution and stuff too.
Daft Punk was just playing in my head, just now.
Well,
So.
I, a lot of the stuff that's going on is not only am I excited to talk to you, but there's a little bit of noise and stuff in the background. So I'm
Oh
not in.
yeah.
When it gets quieter, then I'll be like, then the singing stuff will really be coming to me. Right now, it's
Yeah.
so much intellectual stuff that's popping off.
But yeah, I mean, education is like such a crazy thought to me. And again, I haven't. I'm like my only touch point other than being a student in
Hmm.
education or being a parent of a kid who's in school right now. I did a small little amount of when I was in business school. We did financial literacy outreach
Okay,
to
that's
students
super
out there.
cool. Oh my gosh, that's
Which
life right there. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
but like
That's the front lines.
but this to me again, I have no real actualized experience when it comes to like example like for, tutoring, for example.
Mhm.
Um, again, because
That's my business,
the
everybody.
yeah, as I was saying, but it was saying you deal with like learning
Mhm.
as it relates to on a very one to one or one to many per level kind of thing in that regard, and to me it's just like it's such a kind of a I wouldn't say a foreign concept to me, but I think I have to just start wondering, like our minds are changing, right? Every
Mhm.
generation or every half generation, even. And like, at one point, do we actually have enough of an understanding of that to say, okay, well, maybe our learning systems need to be able to adapt at a higher level too.
Well,
Because
I
like
mean,
one,
no, go ahead,
I mean,
finish that.
no, because for example, at business school, there were a lot of people out there. I went to business school from 2009 to 2011,
Can you
right?
tell us the school?
Yeah, so I was in the full time honors MBA program at Zicklin School of Business at Brew College, part of the CUNY City University of New York system here. Um, Again, they've got a lot of accolades lately. You know, they're one of the more better bang for your buck according to U.S. News and World Report.
Well,
Again,
SUNY is awesome.
yeah. So, but in that regard, basically, but like there are people that were publicly advocating a year after I graduated, 2012. You don't need an MBA. You just need to understand these concepts. I always wonder myself, like, well, at what point are we going to? We like to label everything. Like we talked about this before briefly. We have to label or compartmentalize or everything. At what point are we going to be about you know giving people the tools that they need to survive in the world,
Sure.
and not just saying, well, I'm going to go study these 8 classes, and then I'm going to do like 10 specific classes in a specific area, and then which may or may not be applicable to what I actually do when I graduate.
Now, this is great because I get heated with our friends Alan Lavis, right? The the main
Yeah,
authority.
yeah,
Sorry, I get heated sometimes when we talk about Common Core. Do
sure.
you did you have any? Well, your kids aren't experiencing that shift
Not
yet.
yet.
Like, have you had any reservations, or you only hear about it on the Today Show level, or what? What's your feelings about that? Because
It's it yeah.
you're bringing up something here about uh, changing thoughts and how we perceive it. And so
Mhm.
I wonder what you know or what you think.
Yeah, I mean, again, on one hand, basically, there are certain things, subjects, I should say, rather, that I would want to be covered, obviously. But at the same time, it's like just regurgitating something that a teacher or a book has told me isn't going to give me valuable skills that I need. So it's like, so we you talk about, okay, so why was the Declaration of Independence written? You know, it's like, I can regurgitate, these quotes from it, or these facts about who signed it, or whatever cases, and that's great. I'll go on Jeopardy. I could use that, maybe, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what is the reasoning behind that? Because like, let's say you put a document in front of somebody, regardless if it's a non-disclosure agreement you're signing for a job, or if it's just a news article from USA Today, or whatever the case is. Like, what is someone going to glean comprehension wise from whatever is being put in front of them? And again, if they have to read something 17 times to get even, like, 5% of it, then well, maybe they weren't given what they need to really survive.
Yeah, that gets into a lot of stuff, right? That literally gets into the fine print.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so you would advocate for some progressive things in a public school because we need to keep pushing the limits, for example,
Right.
even
Right.
generically, you're saying.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, again, understanding, again, regardless if you think civics belongs in a classroom or not, I mean, I think that understanding our political system is important, in that regard, because I personally think that democracy is not a spectator sport. Again, speaking to someone here who I know who's done grassroots, work here, you know what that's all about. And I think that's extremely important out there, because, we're not like a lot of, no offense to Europe, but they have this kind of cadre ideal with their political party. My family's always been labor, so we're labor, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, where it might be the same here to an extent, but at least they were. I mean, perception wise, at least how it's been portrayed to me, is that they would still have conversations about actual individual topics, about whether it was free trade, or whether it was, about, you insert issue here from during the Thatcher era, for so to speak.
Sure.
But like, I think that, here we'll say, oh, my family's Democrat or Republican, but they're not having this conversation about saying, okay, well, how do I really feel about, the Fed's, fiscal policy?
Right.
So,
Well, and so again, back to like the art thing,
mm,
because we don't talk about it, it festers.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, that's a super super interesting discussion. I mean,
Mm,
and then I love that. See, we could use music just to fundamentally like focus and lead that discussion, to bring it to different places and stuff like that. Um, just coming off of Thanksgiving, that was always a
mm,
really big thing for me. That was tough. You can't talk about certain things at the dinner table. And now I thought it was a control issue, right?
mm,
Because that's how my brain works.
mhm.
More, control,
Yep.
control, control. Um, but now I guess I understand a little bit why people do it from a tactical thing, like a practical thing. Like you just
Mm,
can't have some of those passionate blow ups and things that get you off track, sometimes in the middle of big family things, because you got to get
mhm.
the family going to the next discussion, or you and your siblings that have no time on their hands have to come up with an agreement to get mom to the retirement situation or whatever, like things that are going
Sure.
to come up. Um, but yeah, just not being able to talk about it, it's crazy. And
No,
that's
I
why
feel that.
that's why I ask, life is random a little bit, and or you can use the small r random, because who are you going to marry into, who your in-law is going to be,
Mhm.
if some of those switches of things to talk about are on and off, that completely changes the environment.
Yeah.
And so I study this stuff on like a deeper level, because my grandparents went off to war, or my grandfathers went off to war,
Mm,
and then my dad, he had a certain way that he was raised. It could have been about the time that they were away at work because they had to go to the steel thing after they came back from the war, and they worked at the steel
yep.
mill and they were just gone a certain number of hours. Or it could have been because the choices that they made, and then the things that your parents learned, and then that passes on to you. But at the same time, we do know now more about science, and things get passed on
Yeah.
genetically, right? It's funny.
Absolutely, man.
I have people, I'm having a true feeling. It's a feeling in my foot. And I had a thought earlier, and I want to come back to it. Did the cheese thing, overly being in the cheese or the sommelier space, is
Mm.
gout a thing? Is
So,
that, I don't know
no,
what that's a
it's funny
thing in
because,
the sommelier cheese space.
yeah,
Is
no,
it
I
written
mean, again,
about in the cheese magazines? Watch out for
that's yeah,
gout. Like,
I would love,
to the gout drug people like that here there. Okay, whoa, there's the real juice.
yeah,
Is it all being manufactured behind the scenes to sell us stuff, right? Is the cheese
yeah,
industry leading us, or is the anti-gout leading it, like the anti-lactate industry leading the milk industry? Whoa.
yeah,
You see
yeah.
where my
There's a
brain
lot
goes,
there,
Danielle?
man.
Yeah.
There's a lot there. Again, there are a lot of people out there that say that biologically humans are not meant to consume milk past a certain point in their lives. You know, so
Yeah. It's
there's a lot of
interesting.
people who subscribe to that kind of concept. And again, my older son loved milk for the longest time. Now he's 9, hasn't touched the stuff legitimately at all for at least 3 or 4 years.
Even like you guys don't have like silk.
No, no, he doesn't like a lot. Again, cream cheese is only real dairy he has pretty much on a consistent basis because he loves at the moment tortillas and cream cheese. He used to like bagels and cream cheese, but now he likes tortillas and cream cheese. He's watching his carb intake. I don't know.
Si se puede. I don't know. I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, no, but it's interesting because but my younger son he's adores milk. Like if he could just drink milk all day, he would be in heaven. And that was like my wife. When my wife was a kid, same thing with her. She did the same thing.
But back to the perils of the industry. and
Yeah,
your
man.
and your health and stuff like that was just a genetic thing, or that was a health thing of the moment. It didn't have to do with like gout and wine
No,
and cheese and the
no.
industry, the beers and no.
It's interesting because it's interesting because so I studied under Max McCalman, who
Mm-hmm.
is a very noted fromager and whatnot, and he helped revolutionize the American cheese plate as in a larger sense more than we know. And Max has, I can't tell you exactly how many because it's a huge number. There's so many people that basically we're always told don't eat cheese, don't eat cheese, don't eat cheese because it'll just make you gain weight or do this, do that for you. And yet there are a whole bunch of people out there just because of their chemical makeups that they'll have. Again, we're not talking a pound of cheese. We're talking maybe you know 6 ounces of cheese in a serving, and it satisfies them enough protein otherwise, and yet they'll start to lose weight while on cheese.
Right.
So it's like so again, I think that I'm of the mindset now where my whole GI system is it's still in flux. My diet is 100% still in flux at this point, but I'm a strong believer that there's not a single diet that is applicable to everybody.
Sure.
So I think you have to go out again, just how you're putting in the work with Trin, fitness wise. I think you have to do the work for yourself on a nutritional perspective. You have to make sure you're getting what you need on a day to day basis. But if you know that carbs hit you super hard on a weight gain perspective, well, then maybe you should front load any carbs in the beginning of the morning, and then, or if you know that celery messes with your system or spinach or whatever you have to deal with, deal with it. It requires experimentation. I mean, I know Moss did an elimination diet too, and at one point, so it's like, yeah, you have to do what you're willing to do, and I think that having that honest conversation again about what is not acceptable is important. If you like eggs and eggs are bad for you specifically, fine, find an alternative. But don't miss out on your essential vitamins and minerals that you need to stay healthy.
Just a great conversation because right, peanut allergies weren't around. Can you
Yep.
imagine? Can you
Yeah.
imagine the YouTubers complaining about peanut allergies and this side of the peanut debate and this side of the peanut debate? We just got past that. Um, I think that's why maybe some of that passion that we were talking about from when we were younger, when we started seeing the shifts in some
Yeah.
of the thought and the things happening. Um, maybe that's why we get into the things that we get into. The critical thinking, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to be a teacher, wanting to get out of the certain industries, to do something different. Those interesting shifts and stuff.
Yeah, man.
What do you think about like the Michael Pollan school of like mindfulness, or like is that how have you changed in like a mindful way? Because
Hmm.
my whole thing, yes, I'm listening to Trinity, and I'm actually, I don't know why, I don't, the things that I do I don't really do for myself, right? Something else is
Right.
knocking me over the head and doing it for me, at least that's what I believe. And so
Hmm.
like yeah, finally I'm able to hear the suggestion and take and get it. And so for me, it's being mindful, and now I've internalized it, and I can eat a certain amount, and I'm the formula that Trinity talks about, like the calorie
Yeah.
deficit.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, that works for me. Um,
Yeah.
is that like a mindfulness thing for you, or did you learn that to be present when you started really differentiating in your study of food and things like that?
It's funny because like I was all about, I mean, for lack of a better word, the seafood diet, seafood and eat it kind of thing. Or more like not seafood per se, but it's more like I like to try stuff. The Jeffrey Weingarten approach. It's about immersing yourself into the meal you're having and tasting that. Obviously within limits. Okay, so my wife and I go out. So we do our three major occasions. We do two birthdays, our birthdays and anniversary. We go out for those, and we generally like to go to someplace new. Generally speaking, right? We don't
Yeah,
go to the
that's
same
fun.
place over and over again. because you want to try different cuisine, different approach, and whatnot.
Chef's table with
Yeah,
tiers, so you get lots of choices. I
sometimes,
mean, you
yeah,
got to make it worth it, right? If you're going to
yeah,
spend.
yeah. If we're spending a certain dollar amount, yeah, we want to make it worth it. I mean, it, my wife and I. So just
Foodies,
context
we're
wise,
blessed to be foodies. We're at that level, right?
yeah. So my wife and I, we scheduled our entire honeymoon around a restaurant reservation.
Oh, tell that story.
So, so for those of you who are familiar with the world of molecular gastronomy, you may heard of the Adria brothers. So Ferran and Albert, and they had a place in the Spanish Riviera called El Bulli, and Costa Brava specifically, they called it. And it was a destination place because they were doing all this crazy out there, experimentation across the word and whatnot. And the way you got into this place is you had to email your request to when you want to when of dates you could potentially be available, and they basically say yay or nay, and they tell you what date, and and that's it. You have to go that day, or you basically just give up your reservation entirely. They
For
don't
sure.
negotiate. There was no fancy lottery system or online system. No, 100% email. So we emailed in, got nothing back. So we're like, oh well, we'll just have to, we'll pick a week. We'll just go to other places. It's fine. So right before we were about to like, kind of dial stuff in, we got a message saying, hey, we have an 8 p.m. on date X. Are you in? And we're like, yes, of course we're doing it. And so, and of course that meal was redonkulous. Again, 22 courses. The most again, the Costa Brava is brilliant. So the way to get to this restaurant, again, they're not serving right now, but it's still there. The facility's still there. But you literally are going up a one lane or 1.5 lane cliffside highway with a single tiny little guardrail, which is not enough to protect you at all, honestly.
Sounds like a James Bond thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
oh my
100%.
God.
Dude, like I was like I think I dug my nails to my wife's hand
Uh
like the entire cab ride on the way over there and back. So
huh. Yeah.
yeah, but
At least when you're driving, you've got that control kind of thing.
right, exactly. No, but I'm in the
Ooh.
cab.
Ooh.
Again, the cab's like we're used to this. We do this all the time. I'm like, okay, I'm scared as hell. No, but honestly, but getting dropped off, walking in, getting greeted with a glass of cava, sitting out there overlooking the inlet there, sunset, whole yards, eating spherical olives, and then getting to the meal itself. I mean, it's mind blowing.
Now,
What once in a lifetime experience for real.
that's just awesome. And so were you saying that the dates of the hotel stuff had to shift around? Like you had the honeymoon window,
No,
or
we were about to like lock in hotels in Barcelona, Madrid, and we were going to Sevilla and Granada as well, and we were about to lock everything in. Without this reservation, but then we got a notification at the last minute before we did that, and I'm glad we did because again, because they closed about I think 3 years later afterwards, but yeah, it's incredible meal. I mean, just to give you an example, we were given what appear to be 2 razor clams.
okay, this is
What
like a chef's plate at the beginning, or this is deep into it.
one of the 22 courses.
Okay, sure.
So this is course, and this must have been course like 7 or 8, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
What appear to be 2 razor clams. So one was an actual razor clam.
Okay.
The other one was a deconstructed version of the flavors that are in a razor clam. But they piped it into a razor clam shell to make it look like razor clam.
And what year is this?
2008.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a movement. Okay, so on this show we like to drop a lot of names, and Daniel's going to be coming back, and he's going to be dropping a lot of names, and so am I. But so my wife and I were eating at Aqua in San Francisco. Michael Voltaggio was the chef, and Teresa and John Kerry were right next to us at the other table with like their grandkids and stuff, and it was awesome. Voltaggio, is peak. If you know
Oh,
Top
he's
Chef, everybody, Michael Voltaggio and his brother compete with each
Brian.
other, and what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And this is just what we see on television. It's all made up for television anyway, but like they're still real chefs. And
Oh yeah.
Voltaggio is peak. Well, so after
Agreed.
Aqua, after that trip, I can't remember exactly when it was, probably around that time, he decided to come down here to Pasadena and take the head job at what was the Ritz-Carlton. It's the
Hmm.
old Huntington Hotel here in Pasadena. So,
Okay.
story is, if you've watched, what was that show that was on HBO? Um, 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 the murder mystery show that was just set in old Los Angeles. Oh my God.
I know the one you're talking about. I can't name it. Can't think of it.
Perry Mason. Perry Mason? The HBO version of Perry Mason, the new
Yeah.
one?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so if you've seen it, right? Downtown LA, the Hill, the old 20s thing. So downtown
Yeah.
LA, everyone's living there, working, businessmen, everything. And Pasadena is basically like the Palm Springs. On the weekend, the bankers and all the people, they drive up to Pasadena, and that's where their big houses are and everything else. And so
Yep.
the Huntington Hotel is the old place here in Pasadena, and it has become the Ritz now. This is like
Wow.
2004. It's a Ritz
Wow.
Carlton has bought it. And Voltaggio comes down to the fancy dining room there, and he becomes the head chef. Now, my wife and I
Wow.
were married in the Viennese ballroom there at the Ritz. That was our wedding reception in
Wow.
2004. And
Wow, man.
so we're very pulled to the place. We go back to the dining room, and like this is like '06, and Voltaggio's there. And the whole reason I'm bringing this up is because we had like a tiny little pigeon Reuben. Like I want to say a
Ooh.
little tiny little, immaculate little pigeon. And it was Reuben style, and it was crusted, and it was just delicious. It
Wow.
didn't have sauerkraut next to it, but it was just this awesome, super chefy thing. And then next to it was the deconstructed Reuben, these tiny little like Jaleel cubes, different,
Oh,
like,
damn.
it was just gnarly, dude. It was like the
Oh,
most gnarly Michael Voltaggio backwards, like deconstructed thing.
that's
And see,
amazing.
you and I can understand deconstructed. Some people,
Yeah.
they're like, deconstructed, don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
True. True. Truth.
Um, yeah, that's a great thing. The Spanish thing and the stories and not talking to each other and kind of pulling back because we don't want to talk about stuff, but then be excited. And that ends up being part of our story and our trip and everything. I want to bring it back to the music and how we were talking about the end of the year. And do
Yeah,
you
man.
think that, um, do you think that you pulled back from music a little bit and that's why you're saying that's something that you're looking forward to in the new year is
Yeah.
maybe working that wheel and lighting that fire
Yeah.
because as a
Yeah.
society when we isolate we stop doing things that we like because these things around us make us isolate is my one of my theories.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, it's like there's so many amazing, content creators out there, and I want to do what I can to support as many of them as I can or as I like, so to speak. And it's a struggle, man. It's like because like there
Yeah.
are points, we know, both know where you might have two different streams going, or I think you've had three or four at one point.
Four. My
Yeah,
wife
four.
gets upset when I have, I'll be in a meeting about a meeting and
Yep.
then I'll be in another Zoom parallel to it because they'll want me to be reading something or I'll have to pipe in on something, and then
Right.
I mean, only now does it. It's not cool. It's not cool.
Right.
My kids tell me it's not cool, but I mean, I'm modding for this and I'm doing for that.
Yep.
Do you even remember? Like, why was I made a mod? I think I was made a mod to like. I don't even know why. It was like some day. It was like, why was I made a mod this day? And I just became a mod. It was so
Yeah.
strange.
Well, again, I think that that collectively speaking, there is a certainly, I guess I'm assuming there's a quote level headedness that has to you're able to understand what you're seeing happening or transpiring there. There's a little bit of that, obviously, and there's also a kind of thing. Well, okay, well, we see you in the chats all the time anyway. You're here anyway, so there's a little bit of a kind of a skill level matched with a presence. In my mind.
Well, I like to think, just like on the radio, I know how to work the wheel of steels. You
Yes.
and I, we are rhythmic people, and
Mm.
we relish the old rhythms of the radio, and that's
Yep.
why we do it in the chat. Like, we don't do the rhythm in the chat because we used to do it on, AOL Messenger. We were never chatting like that,
Yeah.
like, right? And we don't do it when we
Yeah.
chat, when we use these Discord type servers, or we use Slack, and
Right.
you know
Mm.
people aren't necessarily, I mean, people get a little fun in a Slack environment, and you have a little moment of levity in an administrative environment or a sales environment and stuff like that. But
The
yeah,
random channel that we have. Yeah.
these chats are more rhythmic, because it's
Hmm.
part of the entertainment industry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I totally agree. I think that when it comes to talking about entertainment, and I think it definitely there's a little bit more of a looseness involved, and I think that that's the reason why I definitely agree with that.
Um, it's so cool, just to be in these spaces and to be talking about these different things. I mean, the whole reason that I like being live and stuff is not because I've taken improv classes. Like, that's something that's in my future. Have you ever done that
Yeah.
type of stuff?
Improv. I mean, yeah, I took a class way back when. I don't know. I never. I can do like some things well, and and whatnot, and I don't know if you have you seen the Weird Al
I have not
flick
yet.
yet.
Mike Porter
Okay.
keeps beating me over the head. I know I should. I mean, I suspect it's like everything, every always. Like, it's probably got a bunch of windows of time where I can't get it on my in demand yet. I'm saying, like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, but I think that I mean, as much as it's a kind of a Weird Al take on his own life, basically, there's some like kind of like things that happen in the movie. Like again, they're obviously written script wise into it, but like I feel like that there are certain people that like will see something said in the chat or said on the stream, and then you basically take that and you basically run with that kind of thing. If it's a
mm-hmm.
song lyric, like we do that all the time, obviously.
Yes,
Um, whatever it is, we grab onto something and we just kind of go with that. So I think that there's, I think that there's a certain kind of a flow that exists there. I think that we just grab all we catch a wave of this or that and we ride that. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I I wonder how you got introduced to Weird Al. Was it on Dr. Demento's show, like me?
No, no, no.
Did you listen to? Did you listen to? Uh, Kids, this is before podcast, right? They actually had radio, right?
Yeah.
Radio shows. Did you listen like I did? Did you listen to the radio shows when they were replayed? Like they used to replay, black and white on Saturday morning after our
Mm,
cartoons. I heard replays of radio shows in the 70s. How about,
nice.
like, or how'd you hear about, did you do radio shows, and how'd you hear about Weird Al?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely listened to radio. I mean, obviously, when I was super young, I mean, it was here it was Z100 was the dominant force over here in New York, obviously, and but I think that I feel like I don't know where I heard. I mean, I don't know if Weird Al was basically VMTV or whatever the case was. It may have been actually probably now that I'm thinking about it, but I remember. So I'm trying to think back. My first LPs. So we're dating ourselves now here.
Yeah,
My
sure.
my first LPs. One of them was Weird Al. Obviously, his first album, My Belong to the Whole Nine Yards. That was one of my first LPs. So it was that. Huey Lewis and the News 4.
This is
Um,
the full size, right? Not the
full size, yeah,
32.
full, yeah, full, yeah, full, yeah, full. Yeah, that. Um, here one of the Def Leopards. It might have been, I can't remember if it was
Pyromania.
it probably was Pyromania, actually, now that I think about it.
That
Yeah, it's
was one of mine.
Pyromania.
Yep.
And then, the Squeeze, Hourglass.
Nice.
So it was, like, really, again, super, like,
You can remember the covers,
varied.
right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Pyromania, I remember the cover for sure because it was yellow and black. It was men
Yes.
without
Yeah.
hats. Men without hats, right?
Nice. Yeah.
I had Color by Numbers, Culture Club.
Oh, wow.
No, no,
Nice.
no, no. It was actually Living. It must have been Living to Be Clever. It was the purple one.
Okay.
It
Purple
was
one. Okay.
it was Living to Be Clever. But I had Color by Numbers too.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a different time, man. There's way more real estate on an LP than there is on a CD or a cassette.
Yeah, packaging,
Yep.
the industry.
Yep.
I so yeah, because MTV, I do remember Weird Al. Do you remember the very first day? Because I do. I mean, I watched it
Distantly.
live when it
Distantly.
was happening.
Distantly.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was there. Which came first, the addiction or the egg? I was there. I was destined to work for
Yeah.
him, I guess. Or you
Yeah.
just, I don't know. Those things get put in your head, maybe, and then you end up
Mm.
working for them. You just never know. Um, but no, so before MTV, the Dr. Demento show,
Mm.
that's where I used to hear Weird Al, and it would be the polka
Nice.
music. And I'm 1/4 Polish.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, my Judeo-Christian family, might have been Barakowski. Like I haven't done the
Okay.
DNA, not that you don't have to do DNA,
Yeah.
right? You can just do
Right.
ancestry, but my
Yeah.
kids got me the ancestry DNA, and I'm a chicken shit. I just like as soon as I do it, I feel like I'm gonna find out I have cancer, and that's it. Like I just don't want to
Yeah,
know.
I hope not. Yeah.
I know. Who knows what?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
You don't
might you
know.
might
You know.
find out that you're the person that is now going to make $1 billion because you're the perfect test subject to save the world from cancer. Like
Right.
it's ridiculously phobic. Like
Or
why
or
won't I
or
open
or,
a
or
package? But
I mean, or we get bad news like we do with Chris Hemsworth. So it all depends.
it's just one of those things. Like you can't go back
Mm.
once you submit your DNA the first time. You can't go back,
Yep.
right? Or does somebody already have it? Did the hospital
That's the
have to
thing.
keep it on file?
Now we're thinking. Now my mind's going into Orphan Black now.
Ooh, I haven't seen that yet. Have you seen Peripheral yet?
No, it's on my list. That's on my. That's
Because now
100%
that
on my
it's
list.
over, now
Right.
that it's over, I saw it pop up on my heavy spoilers. So like I know the
Yeah.
finale's been done. Now I know that we can try to do that. We are not like the nerd executive here. We do not usually slam things
Right.
um, unless it's the Netflix drop where we're like, oh
Right.
my gosh, let's stay up till midnight and watch 6 Stranger Things and pretend
Yep.
we're not 48 years old and then have
Yes.
to get up the next morning.
Grown folks got jobs. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah, we forget though, and then we stay up
Yeah.
and do the whole party thing. Um, oh man, so we got to see what we can do with some music right now. We got to
Yeah, man.
figure it out, man. I think we'll add this to the stream, and then I have to pull up the actual window too,
Mm.
and we'll see what we get. Which window was this? It is the same as my StreamYard window? No, come on. That's hilarious. That can't be true. Oh, there we go. Let's see. You see my cursor?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay, so what are we feeling?
Sheesh,
I'm
yes.
thinking Weird Al.
There you go.
I'm a Carafun guy. Do you use Carafun? Or do they use them at the bar, I'm sure, that you
Yeah,
go
I'm
to?
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Man,
We
Amish
actually, it's funny.
Paradise. That's a good one.
I was talking. So yeah, you and I we were in Trailer Park Live the other night, and I think I was remarking how that my local place removed Dennis Leary's a hole
Yes.
from that. That was always like it was like wow. It was like a kind of a landmark moment. Like okay, guess it's not popular anymore. I guess.
Well, right, the joke. Oh, what did I just do? That was interesting.
Yeah.
The joke was that, oh, brother, what did I just do? Is that changing on screen for you? Or is it just staying solid?
I'm seeing Carafun right now.
Okay. It never went away. I don't know why it looked like it went away on my end.
No, it blinked for me before too.
Oh, it did.
It went black or
Yeah, it must have
gray rather.
somehow thought it was using a different tab. I get to play
Wow.
around with this all fun live with you guys. Okay, now,
Woo-hoo.
do you hear it? Oh,
Not
I
yet.
see. It just went away, right? It just went
It
away.
just wait, no, get back. I'm not hearing audio though.
Are you hearing the background of the song?
Nope.
No, because when I shared the screen, I probably didn't do the setting right. Let's see. Nope. Okay, I'm gonna stop share. And then
Reshare then.
yeah, when I present or share, I'm surprised it didn't give me the something about sharing the
Options.
sound. No, there it is. I just didn't do it right.
Try again.
Now, try again. Volume up.
Wait, let's see.
All right. Now we'll see if it sounds good. I know our buddy's going to help us with the sound eventually. As I walk through the valley of the.
Oh,
Nope.
still not getting the sound, man.
Are you hearing it?
No, I'm not hearing it, man. That's crazy.
You're not hearing it, but I am.
Yeah.
So it's sharing it with me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know how
these are
I
the
don't know how
things,
it.
people, that you're supposed to figure out beforehand.
Yeah.
StreamYard was just giving me Streamlabs was giving me a bunch of nonsense, and I never do my homework with the OBS like I should.
I need to do some homework. I'm planning to. I'm gonna have a little bit of downtime hopefully during the holidays, and I'm hoping to do some homework because I know like nothing. So
Well, like our good friends, they share stuff with us, and
yep.
it's just putting the time in and doing that stuff, which is exciting. Which is why I take it so casually,
Yeah.
because hopefully every day for a long time we got nothing but time on our hands to just explore it and different stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
man.
um I definitely think that we should do an end of the year type show.
Yeah, man.
What other types of things do you do in other patron places that you're at? Like I'm a very big, as a teacher. I'm a very
Yeah.
big um, why am I saying Screen Crush? I'm not talking about Screen Crush. I'm talking about the guys that started the whole Patreon game with their educational videos. I don't know why I'm spacing on their name right now. Um, I just think there's a lot of exciting things that we can do with
Oh yeah.
the end of the year stuff coming up. I'm not remembering. I'm forgetting. It's not coming to mind right now. But when the music and the other things are flowing better,
Yeah, man.
it would be awesome to get it going, at least so we can test some of the sound and the different things like that.
Oh yeah, man.
And like I said, it's also an opportunity that we could just plan on, something that we live do, because I'm not worried about the sound being taken down. I mean, maybe I should eventually worry about that, but I just feel like it's going to play itself out the way that it's meant to. So
Right, man.
if there's something that's happening and we want to live, like, oh, hey, let's check out this band live.
Mm-hmm.
If we already got the stream going, then we can, bring it in like I just tried to bring in the karaoke. It's just,
Yeah, man.
we wouldn't want the sound not to work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I saw the last Terminal 5 show I saw was They Might Be Giants, and they did the entire Flood album with a couple of extra tracks in between.
This is
And like,
a special tour just for this album, like one of those types of tours.
so yeah, they basically because they were supposed to do a anniversary tour back right when the pandemic was going to start, which it started. So this is like a delayed tour by 2 years, basically. And so yeah, so I you know bought my ticket basically, and then they were at Terminal 5 here in the city, and then basically I just watched it on the live stream, and but yeah, it's very it's but again, you have a window to watch it live. This is when it's live, and then you have like 48 hours afterwards once it's back up again to watch it again if you wanted to. So if you, let's say last minute, oh, I can't make it to the live show, I'll just watch it, a couple days after. But then afterwards, it's like boom, you're done. So it's very interesting how that, because there is I don't know, there's a lot when seeing a live show that how you get that extra energy, for me.
Oh, for sure. I just production has gotten so much better. Like we
Yeah,
really enjoyed the live Dua Lipa show from Europe. She went
nice.
live with her disco show, and what's her name? Kylie Minogue came in and did a little mini set in the middle.
Ooh, nice.
And so it was it was an honor to her and that type of
Yeah,
disco vibe. Um,
yeah.
and it was really cool. Dua really knocked it out with that album and different stuff. And so that was really good. Did you and the family watch the Goodbye Yellow Brick Road on Disney Plus yet? Sir Elton John's concert, because that is amazing.
Yeah,
People.
I was supposed to watch it that night, and yeah, it didn't end up working out. But yeah, it's. I'm hoping to have some time tomorrow. I was gonna say tomorrow, but it's really today now on the East Coast. To basically catch up
Thanks
on
for
that.
staying up late.
No, no, man, it's all good, man.
It's a
I caught
vibe.
I caught a nice 30-40 minute nap around 5, and that just kind of gave me just what I needed to stay up.
Well, we want it to be a Love Tribe vibe. I hope going on
Yeah, man,
Saturdays is going to be really cool. I
it's good, man.
um the concert thing though, it's kind of a Disney shill thing, but we're really liking now that Dancing with the Stars. I mean, it's over, but Dancing with the Stars
Right.
and the Elton thing, they actually have a thing on your watch list where it's not just your show that's coming up, but it's what's live. Disney Plus Live event is coming up.
Wow.
You can only imagine more Broadway, right?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so happy that even though we've gotten through the cynical phase, like Disney Broadway will end up being good and owning
Yeah.
rights to Hamilton or whatever. Maybe that's just them, being a distributor and a publisher, but
Right.
it works for me. I I think I want to tell you this at the beginning. We're doing a production of Annie Jr. here at the
Oh,
grade
nice.
school. So we just got to the place where my wife went to LMU with like Busy Phillips and Colin Hanks and that whole class. Like,
Wow.
oh, what
Wow. Wow.
Denver? It's the Bob Denver School of Theater. He's the
Sure.
alumni there. Anyway, at LMU, Loyola Marymount University here in
Yeah.
California, big Catholic school. Um, so anyway, she's getting to use her theater art stuff, and then she went to USC for teaching, and she's getting to use that. We're doing Annie Jr., and she had the big
Nice.
thing with like the parents and a lot of people that work in the industry here. We're lucky to have people. Oh yeah, I actually built the Inside Out fair, merry-go-round at they're Imagineers and people like they're just,
Oh yeah.
and we get them as the stage moms. So
That's
we're
amazing.
doing that stuff. And in high school, I was never on the stage. That's why I was asking you about improv stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
I was lighting design, and because I was
Sure.
an artist, I designed the program, and I designed the poster, and I painted the mural on the outside of the theater, and then we also
Nice.
painted the sets, and you did everything. But
Yeah.
that's my thing. So
Yeah.
it's
No,
kind of exciting. I
yeah.
get to
No,
work
man.
my vibe. I'm going to get to do some lighting design and do a little
Nice.
sound design, which I've been trying to get back in here, with you and
Nice, man.
Quentin and everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Yeah, but like, for me, it was like it's so funny because I was not into theater much at all. I kind of got dragged back into it in 8th grade. Actually, it's so funny. And then like I pretty much exclusively did musicals at that point. It was
Dragged
just very
back in
funny.
because they needed people to do extra hands on deck as a
They no,
class.
they needed males in the cast because
Oh,
again there was still again talking about generational stigma. If you did theater, you were automatically labeled as homosexual. It's just how it used to work, you know. And so it's like so there's a
in New
stigma.
York City,
And well,
it wasn't even
Jersey, but
oh,
yeah,
okay, but it wasn't
but at the time,
necessarily. You're saying it was a negative stigma, or it was almost like accepted because you're so close to New York. The
right,
theater was like known.
right. So basically, the other students in the class would just automatically look at you differently.
Sure.
They start making assumptions about you without even saying, "Okay, well, he's just doing this because does he like to dance? Does he like music? Does he like, again, does he work behind the scenes like in lighting design? It didn't matter. Didn't matter.
And you're not even saying negative or positive, just at this point because of the yeah.
Again, we're talking like early to mid '90s, kind of
Mm-hmm.
in northern Jersey. Again, my town was I grew up in was literally like 98.5% white, and out of that 98.5% was pretty much a mix of um, Italian, Irish, and German Americans, basically. So it's like, so again, but there is, it's a whole different mindset. I mean, now it's like, again, we're generally more accepting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was like, okay, well, theater was less desirable. It
Right.
wasn't as popular. We didn't have, again, the people who were starring on Broadway then are not the same kind of people we have now. Because now we have, like you said, like Hamilton appeals to more different types of people's musical tastes, as opposed to just saying, oh, we're just going to do a South Pacific, for example.
Right.
So
Wow. And so, what was the show that you
So
got
yeah, so the
roped
first
into?
my first show I got roped back into is I got asked to audition for Once Upon a Mattress, and for those of you who the last time it was done here on Broadway was with Sarah Jessica Parker, actually, when it was in the lead role, which, because for those of you who don't know, Once Upon a Mattress is basically the musical version of Princess and the Pea.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the princess, and so yeah, I got so back then they wanted to give more people opportunities, so they double casted a bunch of different parts, basically. So they want to give everyone who auditioned who had a certain ability to project to do that. So me and me and my close buddy Tom at the time, we got double cast as Sir Harry, who is like the male romantic lead in the
Mm.
show. And I hadn't done really anything musical per se since sixth grade for the most part.
Right, but you're
Um,
already a co-lead now.
yeah, so also I got thrown into it again, and I picked up on it fairly quickly, obviously, and then the choreography wasn't astronomically complex, so it wasn't that bad, but it's definitely another but then that kind of got me going. So well, you did this, so now we want to bring you into summer stock, and you do the musicals during the school year as well. So also I get roped into that as well.
And this is
So it's
public school to public
public
school?
public school, yeah.
And this program is something that people did to feed into the art program before they went to the public school?
Yeah, so yeah, no, so the Once Upon a Mattress was actually the junior school official public school production,
Okay.
and then the following summer was a local summer stock room at the town, and that was 42nd Street,
And that was
and
just
so I
local theater.
local theater, yeah.
Mhm.
So, and then so from there, basically, I did it was like I did the boyfriend the following year, and then there was another summer I did something else, and yeah, so we did, and then it was like we did South Pacific. I think my sophomore year, Fiddler on the Roof, my junior year, and then senior year was Kiss Me Kate. And then I came back. I came back at least 1 or 2 years after the fact. We did Hello Dolly and also Barnum. So again, I did a bunch of smattering of random shows, and it was interesting, to say the least. So
How did you feel thinking back about the zeitgeist when you watched Tick Tick Boom? What did you? I mean, imagine you in
yeah,
8th grade at that time. What's happening with Jonathan in the city
yeah,
at that time? Is it about the same time? I wonder. I'm thinking about Tick Tick Boom now.
yeah.
Hmm.
No. Again,
How'd you feel
and
about that movie, by the way?
again, Garfield for me just slayed it for me. I mean, I just it's so amazing that we're getting to see that side of him, because
The
all
side
we
of
ever
Andrew or
really
that side of Jonathan?
both of them, both
Okay.
side of Andrew and Jonathan for that matter.
Okay.
Again, I mean, I was very fortunate. My grandparents were very much into the theater scene, um, and so I was lucky to see the OG cast of Rent
Wow.
at
I don't.
Nederlander Theater. So
Okay.
again, it was, and that was mind blowing.
Yeah.
I also got to see Jason Alexander and Mario Cantone in Love, Valor, and Compassion, I mean, that was again like these again. I saw Topol when he toured with Fiddler on the Roof way back when.
Wow.
So it's like, so I again,
Where was that? Where was that playing? Where
that
is
was at
Fiddler always
Winter
playing at the
Garden.
same place?
That was it. That
every
was it.
year?
Was it Winter Garden or was it someone else? It was.
I just don't
It
know.
was.
Traditionally, I
Yeah.
wonder if Fiddler plays at the same place or.
Yeah. I mean, well, after again, they more recently they did the full Yiddish version that
Mhm.
was going around the city, and that was off. That was kind of off Broadway. But I mean, Topol, and then Alpha Merlina did another revival, more recently as well. That was 2004 or five, I want to say. But yeah, I mean, but again, it was a different time. Yeah.
My wife got me. It must have been a birthday. Uh, it was the touring cast out here in L.A., but it was the original Mark and the original Roger. Like they were the two pulls
Nice.
to go see and they both
Yeah.
still had it. I mean, that Roger.
Anna Pascal and Anthony
Yeah,
Rappaport. Yeah. I mean, not Anthony Rappaport. Anthony.
yeah, man, that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
The movie.
movie. Who directed that movie? I don't know. It
Oh
was
gosh. Yeah. I
so
can't
well
remember off the
done.
top of my head. Yeah. I mean, again, people talk about
Oh,
landmark.
but Tick Tick Boom. Sorry, Lin
Yeah.
Manuel. Did you feel that side of it was also
Yes.
peak?
Yeah.
I
No.
thought he
Totally.
honored. I thought he honored Jonathan, at least from the promotional stuff that we see. I mean, I
I.
guess we don't really know the drama behind the
Mhm.
scenes, but
Right.
I was
No,
sold.
but yeah, I was 100% sold on that. 100, yeah, and that's again, I love that a, a show from that like of that kind of mindset and message was able to get out there, and I just love that it happened because like so many times people are like, okay, we want to tap into this culture phenomenon again, be it insert Disney property here, or be it Hamilton, or and now obviously we're now blessed with having more options, basically to of these live performances, be it Sound of Music, being Hairspray. I think it's great that that we're having I'd say a modern renaissance as it relates to musical theater. It's great.
I wonder if it's the yin and the yang, right? The pendulum
Mm.
swings back and forth. It's also the collective learning, right?
Yeah.
If we don't discuss something, then something else is going to well up in its place just naturally, right? To try to fill the void or survival of the fittest, the opposite side of it. So, um, when we started taking theater arts out, right?
Yep.
People
I
say
agree.
that about the. I mean, do you guys watch Handmaid's Tale? Do you let yourself get
Well,
into that?
my wife does. My wife does.
My wife too.
She. Yeah.
Good. We need the women to fucking know what's going on so we can
Yep.
help them fight because that shit's scary. I mean,
Axeman.
I was about to bring it up with you, like just the anti-Semitic, the anti-trans
Mm.
stuff that happens
Oh
live
yeah.
on Fox News right now on Jesse Walters and then Tucker Carlson. It's like
Oh
two
god.
hours back to back, and it's just the most blatant, just nasty stuff where they bring on the false person from the Heritage Foundation to say,
Hmm.
well, if they could just use the right bathroom or something, and then they're really doing stuff behind the scenes. But it's funny because they kind of learned from us because we kind of learned to be progressive behind the scenes. Anyway, it's kind of
Right.
strange.
No, no, I totally agree, man. It's again, it's again the irony is that there's certain people amongst the population that are you know bridging the gap or really understanding and learning things. Then there's some people that like they're happy to be in that that silo like we were talking about before, and just in echo chambers, if you will, and say, okay, I'm not going to learn because I'm convinced that everyone who is insert ethnicity, social status, whatever here, um, religion, this is who they are. I mean, I have a distant cousin who very active in social media, works in it for professionally speaking, on a strategies perspective, and she was in Michigan just visiting, her family out there, and they were driving basically towards the synagogue, and because they were driving towards the synagogue, it was like this is kind of the street towards it. A guy purposely leaned out his window and said "F the Jews and F Israel." Went out of his way to do that.
Right. And oh, see, that's another thing. Like I remember, I remember getting into like the same way that I had a freak out about the USA Today thing. I remember
Mhm.
getting into teaching because I could not stand the critical thinking. Some of the stuff that was happening with the Gulf War at the time,
Oh yeah,
like, was driving me nuts. Like I couldn't believe that people were getting away with, like having blinders on and not talking about a certain segment of the news, like what was going on. Like that was pitiful, right? And incomprehensible and demoralizing are the words that I
yeah,
will use now.
yeah.
Um, and so we walled it off and we didn't want to talk about it and, different things. Do, um, do you get into that type of stuff as a parent? Like, have you studied like behavior groups and different things, especially with the different
Mm,
behaviors that you have to deal with? How do you feel
mm.
about that type of stuff? And
Well,
like, do
yeah,
you want to investigate? Because you seem like that type of person. Because we want to
right.
get into why don't people want to investigate?
I think that the only reason why I'm not more invested in that at this time is because my kids are not neurotypical, and I think that if even one of them was, then I would be way invested in that 100%. I think because yeah, because I think that you know again, I mentioned, the demographic makeup of where I grew up,
Hmm.
from basically four onward. I was born in Pittsburgh, moved to Jersey. I was there from four till college, and I 100% had money thrown at me. As again, it only happened like once, maybe twice that I can mentally verify in my head. Once is more vivid than the other one, but I mean, again, this is a fact. It happened. And because I'm of mixed heritage, my mom has an accent, and so everyone who could have, they took the opportunity to make fun of my mom and her accent because she has an accent, because she doesn't speak like a typical wasp, if you will.
Sure.
So again, I think there's I think that I grew up in a household, and again, I credit my parents for this, is that where we recognize the ethnocentricity that existed in the larger scheme of our local society, if you will, but yet they still would say, okay, well, we're going to listen to this group from, say, I don't know, from Botswana, or this group from, say, from Poland, or this group from Brazil. So again, I both music was a huge part of that. Hearing these different pieces of music and hearing, learning what the lyrics were about. I was again random thought. Random. I really like Johnny Clegg from South Africa.
Hmm.
Again, there's something about like his voice, his messaging. It just spoke to me. And again, like almost no one knows who the hell this guy is, and he
Right.
unfortunately passed away. Um, but like again, I would never have heard this music ever if it wasn't for the fact that my parents were very much wanted to promote other cultures beyond what exists in our household and our local society. So, yeah, I mean, it's always in my mind, but again, I guess I'm not as much on the front lines because my kids have a very tunnel vision of kind of content, or what they like, what they don't like. So,
Yeah. I just study a lot of group stuff. I mean,
yeah,
geez, just from biological systems,
mm,
like all that type of stuff, and like middle school science type of, like, that's
sure,
the space that I occupy and my brain is
right,
in a lot of the times. um but we are pattern recognition animals, and then so like we
mm,
see patterns and stuff around us, and that's what we
yep,
perceive, and we could go way into different stuff like that. But
for sure,
yeah, I think when we don't confront certain things, or it's no fault of our own, we can only understand so much, right, in the time that we have. Like, until we get to that place where we can understand it, it doesn't make as
hmm
much sense, and we don't know to ask those questions. So it like
sure,
happens over time. We are starting to ask more questions. I think that is a good thing. it it's going to help in the long run.
mm,
um and then you see patterns happen, and then we can go back and talk about it. with the music industry, you could parallel the
Mm,
sports industry. You know, like
sure.
did the sports industry, did they bring in Jackie Robinson because they needed to win the game, because they needed to diversify? Was it
Yep.
destined to happen? You know, like it, that's super interesting. And then I don't know about you and your parents, but the
Yeah.
diversity of backgrounds, like I know who you're talking about. It's like the world music section at Tower Records on the Sunset Strip was incredible. And
There you
also,
go. Yep.
I worked at a radio station where, world music and blues and jazz was all day Sunday and classical was
Yep.
Saturday or those types of things. But
Sure. Yeah.
like, did you see Motown and the
Mm,
shifts of things like that help improve the environment of you growing
mm.
up? Because I think
Yeah.
that even though we don't know which came first, the corporate synergy and
Mm.
everything, but you know, Motown could represent like some of the stuff that we're talking about with changing and how it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting to see how, like, in as I'm growing up, in the the mid to late '80s and early '90s, how pop music and what you would say oldies music, so to speak, kind of ran its course through everything. Very interesting to see how that works because there are certain, you know, everyone appreciated certain groups. Like they appreciated the Beatles, they appreciated obviously Michael Jackson at the time. And to a lesser extent, there were more people that were liked you know other groups, British invasion type groups and whatnot too. And it's very interesting to see how like that all worked out. And then but then in my area specifically, there were people still listen to pop stuff, right? But then obviously towards the later '80s and into the '90s, basically you started seeing more of this push into at the time with they called it heavy metal before it became alternative later. Um, but seeing bands like Guns N' Roses, Metallica,
New
Megadeth,
Jersey,
yeah, in Jersey, it was
right?
wild.
Bon Jovi. So I mean,
But
what?
Again, Bon Jovi was a staple. He was a staple. So I would
Right,
say
but I mean,
him and
I'm
Springsteen
thinking
were
like, did
staples.
you see that first, or because there's also
Yeah,
wasn't like not the Morrissey gothy stuff, but like there
yeah,
was that certain thing that was happening, and also like Baltimore and DC and the
yeah,
punk and the like.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
What
yeah.
do
I
you
mean,
remember about like? What do you remember about Bon Jovi coming on the scene, or how that changed?
Bon Jovi because he was Jersey, Springsteen because obviously he's Jersey. Those they were like literally like you listen to that music because it's Jersey, right?
Right, because you're
And
proud. But so, are you
yeah,
biased verse or not? Like, is that how like you just pick a
sure,
side when you grow up?
yeah, everyone
Like
listened
you're
to
either
those
like
songs.
against it because you're a punk and you don't like where you're from and you want to move away, like
That's
I
like
was, or
again the punk scene, even aspects of the Second Invasion. No one in my area was listening to Echo and the Bunnymen or the Smiths and not a lot of people were listening to even, you know, Sex Pistols, Ramones, anything like that. It was,
because of the
that was not.
socioeconomic status. You think?
I think so because I think there was a push to, be positive members of society as you would basically be labeled as.
Don't listen to that
So
Two Live Crew, kids.
exactly, that's another
The
that's
warning
an excellent
label. See
example.
how it all comes back, people. Keep coming back. I'm
Yep.
telling you, the mystery is
Yeah.
all connected.
It
Like
is,
Paul
man.
says, right? Heavy spoilers. It's all
It's
connected.
all connected. Yeah. Through time.
Have you
But
gotten a
yeah,
shirt of his yet? Because you're Mr. Shirt. You get more
yeah.
shirts than I do.
That's one of the.
I
I'm
want the
going to be
really
getting
old
that.
school Spoiler Man one that looks like the Spider-Man cover. That's the one I
Oh
wanted.
yeah. Well, I had to get a replacement Nerd Adventure shirt actually with the the logo on it. My other one got heavily stained and ripped by accident, and so I need to get a replacement. So
No,
that
I
was
mean,
the
I've seen
first
you
thing.
repping the main gang. You rep
Yep.
Vader's Lair.
I got Vader's Lair, Star Wars Santa, Star Wars Mag. Um, I have at least one or maybe two theory shirts. Um, yeah. So again, I try and again anyone who has one out there, I probably should get more stuff of. So again, heavy spoilers is one I'm gonna probably buy for the holiday season here for myself for sure. And then yeah, but
That's
again,
cool.
if once we see more stuff from say other people, from Kendall or from Nerd Mafia, I mean, we once we get other kinds of paraphernalia, I'll be buying more of that stuff probably too.
One
So,
second. I'm gonna go. 1 second. You can entertain them with your story about the Smashing Pumpkins concert.
oh yeah,
Tell
man.
them first how you felt about Jane's opening and
Yeah,
reminisce on the nostalgia of it. I'll be right
yeah,
back.
yeah, man. So Jane's Addiction, man. Again, I listened to their music before. I'm not really, I would say, a massive fan of theirs, but
Oh,
again,
sure. Wait, the whole
but
chain.
totally there's an immediate nostalgia that came up, when Jane Said came on, for example, like the entire arena like knew the words to that song basically. So it was pretty wild hearing everyone talk singing Jane Said again, and again when they closed with Been Caught Stealing, because that was going to happen, you know that was
Yeah,
just
I
again.
guess. I mean, I sorry, I don't. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's the set list, right? You've seen him at
yeah, again.
Lollapalooza before,
Yeah,
James?
yeah, I didn't see them there, but yeah, but
Hmm.
again, I wouldn't call myself a fan of Jane's Addiction, but they're you know the members of the group. I mean, they're like significantly older than even both of us, honestly,
Oh yeah,
and yet they
Harry's got
had
to be
such.
60.
Yeah, he's in his mid to late 60s now,
Oh, okay.
and he was jamming like he was like 35 tops.
I think
I
his
mean,
voice was pretty good, right?
yeah, no, his voice is still very strong. Again, and Perry, he's lent himself to the DVDA and other groups, as well. Um, South Park, reference there. Hot Lava, everything like that he wrote. Yeah, again, and I think that but I was saying that everyone was primarily there to see Smashing Pumpkins, right? But everyone sang what Jane said when that played. Everyone was singing. Like you heard like the entire arena just erupting in the chorus because everybody knew it. It was like it's like there's certain like
Wait, this was
you
the
go to
Apollo or this was the Bronx, like
this is
the
this is
basketball
MSG.
arena? Oh, it
MSG.
was MSG. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, man. So it was wild, but just here again, you everyone was singing that. It was wild and
And tell
yeah, they
us,
were.
for a double bill like that, is that 250 a ticket?
Oh, so we went with a much cheaper ticket. So with fees, it was probably around 130
That's pretty good.
where we were at. But I managed to. So there's a bunch of there's a section at the MSG where there's a bunch of commentators or stats people would sit,
Hmm.
and there's a small little 4-seat row right next to that. And so we snagged the 2 seats in the corner of that one row, and we had great seats. It was we were stage right basically.
I
But
love
it was
knowing those seats. That's what we did for Madonna at the Staples Center for the Drowned
oh
World
nice,
tour. We had
nice.
like those. Now they're turning all those little areas that used to be for wheelchairs and different things. They're turning them into like bar stools and like that's all
Yeah,
Dodger Stadium and Staples Center. I don't know what it's like out there for you guys, but
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. There was a section next to the section that we were in
standing
front of.
room.
Yeah, they definitely had people. They wheeled some wheelchairs into there next to us. The section next, like kind of to the front and to the side and whatnot. But then there was a bunch of random people that seemed to be like I don't know special guests, and they didn't want them to put them in GA basically. So I don't know. But it's
So,
fascinating, man.
and then when the pumpkins hit, what was the arc of the show? What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, they definitely ran the gamut from like older stuff to newer stuff, and it was kind of a nice little flow. Again, it was obviously upwards trajectory, but again they covered a lot of the major songs you expect them to cover. And I think that what I love about the pumpkin shows i- is that they kind of understand what the audience is expecting.
Hmm.
So I think that there's they kind of knew what they were going to do, and I love that for me.
Yeah, he's a showman. I
Yeah,
mean, I think so. A
yeah, I totally
showman
agree.
in the sense of he's himself jamming in his space with his axe, type of. That's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah,
Uh, no, go ahead.
no, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
The one of the things I would love to do with people as they come on is really get deep into some good stories, in the industry. One of the best stories you'll ever see, I shared with Meg. She had never heard of it. Is how he got his guitar back, his Siamese Dream guitar.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you know
yeah,
that story? Yeah,
yeah. That's an amazing story. Yeah.
yeah. Just there's a lot of those that we don't know. I mean, and
Mm,
there's really good bloggers and people out there that are doing little mini documentaries and they like editing and doing stuff like that. I'm just thinking about,
mm.
exposing people to it and just the multiplicity of shows and things that I get, going, down a path of calendaring it. Like
Yeah.
the same with you. You must get super jazzed about the confluence of trips where you could go try beers and
Mm.
write about a food. Or
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah, man.
can't the creativity drive the content? I mean, just like
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I mean, my last really big beer trip, because it's been a long time since I've been out for that. It was um probably Asheville, North Carolina. Was what? I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. We did Northern Virginia. I'm sorry, the year after that. And that was a very memorable trip because we went to a lot of really cool destinations. But I think that later, Trent. But yeah, but it was very memorable because, like, for example, on the karaoke front, for example, this is a great thing. We actually, so we couldn't do a lot of public drinking in certain areas of the hotel, so we all piled into a single room, and we wanted to, and for some reason we wanted to karaoke. So I brought my
for some
laptop.
reason, you mean every day is karaoke? No,
Yeah, but we yeah.
I don't know if you were joking or not.
No.
Like for
We
some
want.
reason we wanted to karaoke. You mean like because it's Saturday? No,
Yeah, there's this again. We have a handful of people in the beer bloggers community that that really love karaoke. So, like, okay,
cool.
I'm like, so, like, they'll go, well, how do we do this? I'm like, well, I guess I could pull up stuff from YouTube, and we can do that way. And we didn't have a system, so to speak. So I said, okay, well, I have my HDMI cable with me. I'll see if we can make it work with the TV, and it worked. So, which is great. So we had, like, literally, like, in a two queen bed hotel room, we must have piled in like 30 people in the room. Now we had the AC down all the way, and it was still like 80 degrees in there at least. It was like ridiculous. And we basically just brought all of our beer that we to share. We had, like, I don't know, minimum, like like
This is the
three, like,
bathtub
large,
full of ice, right? Type of
pretty
thing.
much, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all of us had we had them in ice. We brought them downstairs. We're like, oh, we're opening up this triple from this place, and this bourbon barrel aged quad from this place, and this imperial stout from over here. It was insane. It was insane, and like the
Now,
the, the, the aftermath was insane.
do you like small karaoke rooms? Because I was just having this discussion.
Mm.
I'm a big perform on stage kind of guy. I don't go
It
to little
depends.
rooms with like the
It depends.
lights and the different things. But
It depends. If it's like three people, like, it's fine. But once you get before, like, above five, you need to be in a more substantial room. I'm sorry, it's
well,
got to
I
be
just
large.
do you want to spend time singing with only two other people? I mean,
Um,
I mean,
for me,
obviously that type of
yeah,
thing is going to happen on this show.
right,
We can't have too many people. I mean, other
right,
than you could have one after another is my
right,
intention, right? Especially
right.
if you want to come on, like I want you to be like, hey,
Yeah,
come on, and we just got to get the sound right so the person isn't off time. But
it
what I'm
depends on the
saying
people
is like,
people you're going with.
yeah,
I think, because, like, for me, it's like I don't mind performing in front of, like, an entire bar. That's not a
right,
big deal for me.
more random the better.
Yeah, that's not. I think that's how I started. Honestly, the place called in the West Village, called the Village Ma.
Okay, and it's a famous
And
place, or how did you get
well,
hooked up
they're
with
they're
it?
they're long since closed. They've been closed for, like,
But I mean,
uh,
how did you? Were they a karaoke place, or they were a place that you knew from another
they were
story,
no,
or
they're a restaurant that they're a restaurant slash bar that happened to do karaoke on weekends, basically.
okay?
So we
And
happened
it was
upon a bash.
because the restaurant, because the beer, or
We know the rest. It was just we happened to be in the West Village. They're like, oh, they're doing karaoke tonight. Let's just go in. We grabbed some food, grabbed some drinks, whatever, no biggie. And we had such a great time. We kept going back there as often as we could.
we being who set the scene?
Um, a combination of some high school, some college friends. We kind of merged cliques together, if you will. Yeah, and it was a good time. I mean, that was when I've heard some amazing people at that place too back in the day. There was this one guy who did Bills, 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 Destiny's Child, huge, like 300-pound guy, but like legit, like I just couldn't believe him. Like, I mean, like again, I mean, he's no Beyonce, but he did pretty
Was
damn
he a
well.
performer? That
I don't know.
okay.
I didn't get a chance to talk with him because he basically did a song and he split practically.
But I mean,
Um,
in New York, it could have been opera. It could have been drag. It
yeah,
could have been like they could have
yeah,
been out of their performance area and just popping in for a song. Like,
oh
wow,
yeah, 100%. I mean, but the guy blew my socks off. I mean, I just could not believe this guy. Again, we're talking like 20 years later. I'm still having that that visceral memory of how amazing he was.
that's cool
It's
when a
crazy.
sonic boom or a well, not
Yeah,
you know what I meant.
yeah, yeah,
That sonic thing that can do things to you.
yeah, man. Yeah, but I also have like the very bad memory of my two memories from that place. One was that a bunch of us were very, very intoxicated, and we thought it'd be a great idea if we did Lady Marmalade as four guys, as opposed to the new version, not the
Right.
We thought it'd be a great idea, but I found out after the fact that no one actually knew the verses. So it was like the words the most god awful cover ever.
Even you didn't know like the Christina part by
I knew
heart?
some of it, but
Okay.
again, I was like 8 or 9 shots in at that point. It just was,
Yeah.
yeah, it just was bad news.
That's not
It-
that's not that bad of a song. That's
y-
at least that's not like I can't stand the super stereotypical ones. I guess
yeah,
I'm still an asshole that way. At least
no, no,
because I've told you this. I never did karaoke until
right,
like I finally got sober because I was just such a jerk, and I did not want to see this. Here we go. I did not want to see the thing that I didn't like about myself in somebody else. That
mm,
was not something that I wanted to see.
yeah,
So
man.
my theory on all of this stuff, the reason we don't talk about the Two Live Crew stuff and we
Yeah,
don't deal with some of the other things is because it's hard to be awake and aware, these
mm,
rational animals that we are. And then so
true.
we don't want to fear the confrontation when in reality, I
Yes.
believe, especially once you get older, right? It's just once you get older, it's just you've gotten worn down that you can't be as anxious about it. You just have to walk through the day and get the shit done
Hmm. Yeah,
to, make it happen.
yeah.
You probably do adulting better than I do. Did you see the adulting special?
No,
With
no, I didn't watch it.
Bill Maher. It's hashtag adulting. It's a great
Yeah,
comedy show. Yeah.
nice. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have. Yeah, right now it's like I have this weird balance now. It's like where I'll have watching assignments for Watch Okay Please, and then like I'll have like just general content. I mean, because we have like up until recently we had Andor, every week, and now Willow is here. Now I still have to catch up on those first two eps because I promised myself that I was to watch them this weekend,
Who'd you
maybe
commit
tomorrow.
to? Whould you commit to watch Willow with? Or
Oh,
you're
no one,
just
no
you
one in general.
wanted to?
I committed myself to watch it basically
Okay.
because because again I enjoy the flick when it originally came out, and I just want to see where the story will go.
I was hoping we were going to watch it together in the
Yeah,
Discord. We'll see what happens next week. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, if we do it, man, I'll figure out a way to make myself available at the time, make it happen.
and yeah, the rest of the stuff that we can get into now, it's just it's incredible the time and the space that we have, especially as we're building up to the end of the year.
Yeah.
What type of things are you already on your musical calendar? I mean,
Sheesh.
we've said your 2023 goal for listening to more music or being more
Yep.
mindful about it is,
Yeah.
in general, it's just a
Hmm.
ramping up or a reinvigorating within yourself. Is there
Hmm.
anything that's on your radar because you've already had to purchase it that you know is coming up in the
Nothing.
spring or
Nothing.
anything?
So yeah. So again, I saw seeing the live streaming of the MMA Giants live was awesome, and I really wish I could make it out to one of their live shows for the remainder of the year. I would have loved to seen that. It's just scheduling is just tough, basically, because like, if I'm leaving to another city, it's like if I usually I obviously stay there overnight, and if my wife has work the next day, because my wife works Tuesday through Saturday, and I work Monday through Friday, so it's like if I go on a Friday night, for example, you know, we have to have full coverage of both kids for Saturday while she's at work. So it's a whole other. So for me to basically uproot myself to go see a show out of town, it's like it's literally a whole production of logistics.
Right.
Um,
And
but
now
yeah,
to bring it in at your time on the live stream, have you guys
yeah.
upgraded your TV in terms of size?
A lot of time
So it's
I
even
just
more
watch it on
theater
a
size?
large. I watch it on a I don't know a 27-inch monitor basically most of the time. And again, I'm in the chair. I'll lean back. And just and chillax like that. And again, sometimes I'll have an alcoholic beverage. Sometimes I won't. It depends on the mood. But yeah, that's what I generally do that. I mean, again, when I upgrade my computer here, I may change my setup at some point because I'm hoping to upgrade it, budget permitting in the new
Well,
year. We'll
budget
see.
permitting, I mean, have you forecasted out? Like, besides we're talking about
Yeah,
generic concert stuff, in
yeah,
terms of content, have you budgeted out? I mean,
yeah.
is it part of a business number and stuff? Like,
Right.
how far have you gotten with it, you guys, or as a
Yeah,
partnership? I don't understand. Not
yeah.
that
So
you tell everybody now on TV,
no,
but
no,
on TV,
yeah, yeah. No, but again, I think that how I work with say Sam and Quentin is a little bit different than the way I work with Nyan and Jason. I think because Nyan and Jason and Watch Okay Please, we I've known these two guys since 1997. So
right?
it's like it's a whole different relationship. And I think that, with the podcast, because we're not doing things like live,
Hmm.
we can do there's a lot more production that's involved with that. So it's there's a less of this on the cuff kind of stuff that we need to do. But we basically do like, okay, so we have a upcoming calendar. So we're saying, okay, so this is what we're recording this week. This is when it's going to be released, kind of thing. And we have it kind of roughly penciled in for the next 6 months.
It's awesome because I'm just like, that's again why I was asking about the calendaring and stuff. It's just like, this is a good time. I feel like
Yeah,
we're just coming into a good time where we're going to be able to calendar out just a lot of things.
true.
Um, just off the top of my head, for my family, like 20 2024
Mm.
May 2024, the first Saturday of May 2024 is the 150th anniversary of the Kentucky Derby. So
Oh
I'm from
wow,
Louisville, Kentucky. So like
that's
if
huge,
I
dude.
can somehow get my family there and I would like to get my in-laws there, just like get a little mini family reunion thing going on and get my in-laws who have never been to really that that
How far in advance
festival.
do you
It's a
take
2 week
reservations, man?
festival. I don't know. I'm just saying like it's like a 2 week festival of stuff that happens in Louisville. So
That's gonna be
um
huge, dude. Wow.
yeah. Um And then a couple weeks after that, I'm trying to get the whole family. Like I just keep visualizing. Uh, we want to take the kids with us on our 20th wedding anniversary to
Wow.
Hawaii.
Nice,
And
dude. Yeah.
so, like, a couple of years ago, we didn't even think about that. And
Right.
now I'm like, whoa, this completely changes how you have to plan towards the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think I think for my family in general, like we are staying local just more right now, just because my younger son is not really 100% comfortable,
Yeah.
out and about, at this point. And so once he, like I said, I think he'll probably get back in the swing of things, be more quote unquote normalized, probably in a year or two. But I think that right now I mean, he also gets car sick too, so that doesn't help. My wife used to my wife used to joke that she says, "Oh, I get a car sick walking down the street," because she was like that. Her sense of smell is that like sensitive, so she smells like a wisp of something nasty, like rotten milk, for example, like off the street in a dumpster. Like it will make her gag.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's hard because like both these my sons have had car sickness issues. So it's like, but equally so, my older son was on a plane with us, and he had some issues there as well. Not so much nausea per se, but just um, like mental balance kind of stuff on the plane.
Yep.
So
It's all a delicate balance thing right there,
yeah,
right? Like it's like, are you overheating? Are you anxious? What's
yep.
going on?
I mean, he was only 2 at the time when we went, so that was like a whole other mindset. So
I mean, in 2019, my parents had their 50th wedding anniversary, and
oh,
they
wow,
wanted everyone, me, my brother, my sister, and then all the grandkids. They wanted everyone to go to Walt Disney World, and it was like two
sure,
days at Disney and 2 days at Universal, and then 2 days back at Disney. It was like the whole big, wear
damn,
shirts thing. Like I had never
yep,
imagined I would be that type of person, but here we were, and it was cool. I embraced it, right?
nice,
Um, but that type of thing then got me excited about, oh, I wonder if we could do this Kentucky Derby thing, and oh, I
yeah,
wonder if this 20th anniversary thing, let's really do it big and bring the kids with us. That would make it different, because we did the
yeah,
100 year, we
totally.
did the 10 year. We're still going to have all of our 20-year moments,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah,
anyway. um I don't know, it just got me excited about calendaring and stuff, and then I'm learning more about believing in the visualization.
sure,
Like The Secret always seemed like a scam because it had to do with
mhm,
publishing, and I'm, skeptical of the publishing and all that other stuff.
sure,
But then now I have these friends and I do more work, with them and stuff, and goal oriented visualization, makes sense on a small term. So,
yeah,
if you put up stuff on a bulletin board and you're thinking about, oh, I want to go on this trip, that'll make it more likely that you'll focus on it. And so the motivation will be there. But like, I still don't believe these people that are like, okay, well, you want a $50,000 car, you need to be thinking about a $500,000 car. I'm like, no,
no,
I don't think my prayer is going to change the zero at the end. Like, that's not how the force works. Like, I don't,
no,
but then again, when you get to that place, see, that's where you're supposed to let the expectation go. Because
right,
when you let the expectation go completely, then you're actually in the space where you're so mindful and open that some of the stuff seems like it's miraculously happening, or it's lining up because you weren't expecting to see it, or whatever it is.
right. Well, yeah, my co-host and Watcher K plays Nyan. He literally, so we haven't opened up our Discord to the world yet, but we will at some point in the
Like
future.
mine, right?
Right.
Until I know what the hell I'm doing. Anyway.
Right, that's kind of same here. So once we're ready to do that, we'll do that. But but internally in the Discord, he has emoji reacted with a scooter on every single message that is not his, because he's trying to actualize the purchase of a scooter. And what did I do? I popped open a gift from the Book of Boba Fett to him every single time I can.
Well, it's just cool. Thinking ahead, my brain, right? The whole arc is also going to, when you guys come out, right? If you
Yep,
ever come out for a trip, um,
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen at some point because my wife always wanted to go to LA for a long time.
mm,
So it's going to happen at some point. It just I don't know when, chronologically it will happen. But she's like once the younger son is, like I said, stay like more stable for travel. like it'll probably be scheduled probably conceivably within the next 3 years after that. I'm guessing, but who knows?
Well, and you got to think about it. I was just saying, like 2024 might be Orlando Star
Mm.
Wars, and
Right.
then 2026 would be back out here.
Mm.
I would love. See, that's another thing right now. Like literally, right now is the time. Like, if we really started thinking about it, we might just end up in London at Star Wars Celebration, right? Because
Wow.
I know Darth Elvis and Meg,
Meg,
like the parties are legitimately
VM,
happening.
all those people. Yeah.
It's going to be nuts. Um, but as visualizing you or the family or other people coming out here for Star Wars celebrations and the things that I like to
Yeah.
do, the trade shows and stuff, I'm getting really excited for 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, and
Oh
the
wow.
World Special Olympics are also coming. Ever since
Right.
I was in high school, I've worked with the Special Olympics and School for the Blind and the Deaf and different
Yeah.
people as part of my, just learning how to be a service person in your community and stuff. And
Hmm.
and that was part of like athletes working together across different things and just like cool stuff.
What was the last? What was the last year that was out? Olympics was out in LA.
Well, 1984 is the big
It was
Olympics,
84, as I
right? So
thought. Yeah.
this is a huge thing. The fact that the Olympics are going to be going on, and the fact that it's the Special Olympics is also awesome because the Special
Hmm.
Olympics was recently here in LA. So the
Right.
fact that we're getting it back again is really cool because it was like a huge thing for the special needs community out here. And then all the other things that go along with it, like the industry that goes along with it. Um, the equestrian center, getting to see the exciting stuff happening down at the USC, the big Olympic pool that is right next to the Coliseum that they use in the
Right.
original Olympic Games and stuff. There's just a lot of really interesting, cool things coming to LA. Um, Museums, the George Lucas
Mm.
Narrative Museum of Arts is a big one. It's a architectural masterpiece. It's like a civil engineering problem, like because
Mm.
it's like the way that they have to build it and the permits and the people down at like the fancy people at USC that own a lot of the land downtown LA.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's all kinds of interesting drama and stuff with this George Lucas place. Besides
Mm.
the fact that it's like state of the art, it's going to be incredible.
Yeah. Platinum lead or whatever it's certified to be. Yeah.
Gets me back to travel and museums and stuff. I mean, imagine that. Is it Burke and his wife or Burke the nerd?
Yep.
Like he's the
Yep.
one that travels, right?
He's a huge. They're a huge
I
traveler.
mean, yeah,
Burke and Bree are
because
huge travelers. Yeah.
the Disney concert hall,
Mm.
this place, that place, just like all the places we can go.
Yes.
It's been awesome, dude.
Yeah, man.
I'm super happy that we're gonna get to flex this muscle
Hell
and
yeah,
keep
man.
and keep working on stuff. I'm all about the
Absolutely.
transparency too. So um,
Yeah, man.
we'll get better as we go. Some
Absolutely,
nights
man.
are hit or miss with me too. Like you just never know what's going to happen, and I like
Oh
that.
yeah.
It's the exciting. Um, Mike Porter has got his like little MCU shill thing sometimes in his
Yep.
name. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Like
And
right
chill.
now, I'm really loving. I mean, I'm such a Star Wars
Uh,
person, right? Like,
OG later. He's crashing.
later, man. I love you guys. Trinity too. I didn't really get to say about him, but they all know us. Like it's all
Yeah.
real. People keep coming
Yeah, man.
back. It's all really happening. This is not fake.
Exactly, man.
um, what was I saying? Just the stuff that we're going to get to do, and
Yeah.
the exciting opportunities and things that we have. I don't know where I was going with it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to end the night and
man.
say it's exciting and um, I don't know. I know next time we will definitely focus on getting some music out there for
Yeah,
some
man.
people and having some more stuff behind the scenes to.
We'll get the technicals together, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bare bones guy.
Yeah.
The visualizing, that's the main thing, and getting people excited about it, because the more excitement that we have. Oh no, that's what I was going to do. I was going to tell you before we leave that the MCU thing about Mike Porter. Like, I've decided that even though I'm peak Star Wars, that I'm embracing that MCU side, because I'm such a team half full Mike Porter type of guy. And for me, the MCU is the mysterious, curious uncertainty. That's what that acronym is for me now. And so, like, I live in the multiverse that is the mysterious, curious uncertainty.
Agreed, man.
And it's like super peak. Like, it's all been happening, especially since we've all been coming together, which is, not something that we could have planned, I don't think.
Nope.
We all kind of, I mean, especially as we tell our stories, the way that all of this is woven together, it'll be interesting for other people to look back and be like, wow, this time, this place, it had a certain pressure and a certain zeitgeist, and that's the way that it formed.
Exactly.
Like the way that we're talking about stuff now. It's really cool.
The force moves in different ways.
And the networking thing too, like, I'm fascinated by all the different stuff and learning more about it, and talking about it and coming up with ideas. I made up the little thing. I don't know. I say entrepreneurial Avengers, or entrepreneur Avengers, because out here I work with people that have been displaced, right? Like that whole shift when you're 50 and you're 60 years old, and the pressure of the community just downsizes you, and how do you deal with those things? So in my volunteering, it goes in all different types of ways, and so that's what I want to bring to this space, and it's exciting to do it with you, man.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought me and everyone else here along with you for this ride, man. It's been great.
And then also keep your eye out this week for the synergy that is me. Trinity makes fun of me now that the Guardians special is out there, and Kevin Bacon is all over the interwebs. The one movie, the one thing that I did when I first came out here, is forever tied to Kevin Bacon. So now we can use that. But in the same way, baby, the Star Wars MCU, Kevin Bacon, nerd-venging, whatever, all the synergy that's happening. This week premieres the local episode of the ABC show, The Great Light Fight. I'm not saying it exactly correct, but if you watch The Great American Light Fight or the Holiday Light Fight, it's a little bit like one of those not Love It or List It. They go to a bunch of different places. No, at the end, they give the trophy to one. I thought it was going to be a whole bracket, and that would, but either way, each week someone wins. I don't know if my neighbor's going to win this week, but we have a neighbor here that is deep in the industry, and so his house is very Clark Griswold, like a lot of people. And my subdivision is celebrating the 70th anniversary of the community light up, and this house is going to be featured on the ABC show this week, and so it's amazing, all like. Dude. They just keep rerunning it, and then there's helicopters and there's tour buses, and there's a lot of stuff happening. And it's also the 100th anniversary of the Rose Bowl, which is right out here at the end of literally like the end. The Rose Parade ends here where the high school is, and they park the floats, and you get to pay $10 and like smell the flowers and walk up and down and see them right up close. So like, it's all happening, like Penny Lane says in Almost Famous.
Yep.
It's all happening, people. Keep coming back and be part of the Love Tribe. You can subscribe to the channel, ask questions about the Discord, keep visualizing these good things, because it's all growing together in the moment as it happens. And so it's exciting that you're here, Daniel, and we'll see you later, OG.
And again, and again, just like you have the channel, man, we're all have that gratitude that we were able to be here together like this. So
definitely attitude of gratitude, people.
Yep.
Ronnie, everybody else that I'm not seeing in the chat, we'll talk to you later. Meg, Santa, you guys leave comments also on what we can do to improve, because we're working with the Nerd Holla Network the best that we can, and we're going to
Yes.
keep pushing it for creatives all out there.
Exactly, man.
All right, everyone. I'm going to say live long and prosper for my
There you go.
AFT
Yeah,
friends, but
yeah.
also may the force be with you always, brother.
And yes, to all you.
All right. See you next time. Peace.
Peace.